The scene unfolded with a breathtaking view as a girl fell to her knees, her voice breaking with each word of her heartfelt prayer. "O Almighty God, there was a time when I blamed and resented you for my travails, but please give me one more chance. I was such a fool. If I'm given another chance, I'll never make that stupid mistake again. No, this isn't how I want to die. I don't want to die like this. Light, it's so noisy. Did I fall asleep right after I collapsed? It's so much easier to breathe now that I've gotten some good sleep." She wakes up in her 19-years-old body, with her second chance. Bianca shouted. "Wait, what?" Clear, unblemished skin, long, rippling hair. Why am I back? No, this isn't what I wanted. Bianca de Arno, also known as Countess Arno in the Kingdom of Sevran, was a well-known figure in her territory and even the country, as an utterly wicked wife. In contrast, her husband, Count Zachary de Arno, was a loyal vassal of the King of Sevran and First Prince Galadier's right-hand man. Even when his lordship was risking his life on the battlefield, Madame Bianca ordered custom-made dresses for herself every day and bought accessories wrought by the best master jewelry craftsmen in Sevran. On other days, she would hole herself up in her chamber, scream bloody murder like a lunatic, and destroy all the costly furniture in the room. There is a conversation between maids that, "How many days has it been since her ladyship refused her meals and turned away the cleaning maid at the door?" "I think it's been about 4 days. Shouldn't we go inside and check on her? What if something happened to her?" "That would be great, actually. You know what a difficult life his lordship leads because of her. Everyone in Arno knows that Madame Bianca will surely be punished one day." Arno went through a number of lords in quick succession in the past, which caused quite a bit of distress to the residents of the territory. Count Zachary de Arno became the new lord some years ago, and we were slowly entering a period of stability. Her imagination raised. Lord Zachary, the Count of Arno and Madame Bianca's husband, was a frugal and earnest master. He earned a great deal of money from the many wars he participated in, and it seemed as though he would be able to infuse more wealth into the territory in the coming years. Of course, that would have been the case if Madame Bianca, his terrible wife who spent all his money on extravagances, was not around. What's even worse was that the Count and his wife had already been married 8 years. But there were rumors that the Lord and his lady never even consummated their marriage because Madame Bianca mistreated his lordship so harshly. One never knows what will happen on a battlefield. One may succumb to a foe's blade in the midst of a fight against enemy forces. One may also be the target of a dirty, evil scheme and meet a mysterious death in the fray. Have you forgotten how difficult life was for the residents of Arno when they didn't have a lord? Maid replied to her, "It's already been 8 years since he and Madame Bianca got married. They don't have a successor yet, so what are we going to do if something bad befalls his lordship?" "What in the world is she thinking?" Bianca Arno think. "This is lace," Bianca murmured to herself, inspecting a piece of fabric. "Lace was a fashionable item in my 30s, and I learned how to tat lace in the abbey. This definitely isn't a dream." Maid became shocked. "Did she hear everything we said?" Bianca entered his room. "Vinny!" she exclaimed. "It's Vincent, madam." Vincent, the head butler of the House of Arno, corrected her. "How old am I this year?" "You're 19 this year." 19? I'm only 19? Bianca looked shocked. "Where's his lordship?" Vincent replaced. "He's been fighting on the front lines of a war for months." "I know she doesn't care for him, but she didn't even know that he was away at war? What in the world is going on in her head?" Vincent thought to himself. "Do you know when he's coming back?" Bianca asked. "According to the last message I received, he said he would be returning in the winter." "The winter? I see. I can't stand the cold, so get me a fur coat." "A white fox fur coat," he say. "Understood, madam," Vincent thinking. "Get my wife everything she wants," Count Zachary had once ordered. She could have had every luxury and lived a life of comfort back in Blanchefort, but she had to leave it all behind upon her marriage. "I want to compensate her for her loss. Whatever it is that she wants, make sure you acquire an item of the highest quality." "That's my duty as her husband," Vincent sighed. "I'm sure you didn't know how extravagant Madame Bianca can be when you said that, my lord. If marriage can be likened to a business, then Count Zachary Arno's business suffered a great deal of losses and hadn't made any profit so far. In short, it was a bankrupt enterprise," Bianca say. "You always managed to procure the best items." I commend you for a job well done, Vinny! Bianca exclaimed. He added, If you're going to praise me, then may I ask you to also remember to call me by my full name? Vincent replied dryly. I recall your asking when his lordship will be back. A new message arrived this morning. His lordship has set foot in the Arno territory. Understood, Bianca said quietly. Bianca de Arno, the wicked wife, known as an immature and extravagant woman who has no interest in her husband, will one day be called Saint Bianca of Arno. But that's still a long way off in the future, she said. I've come back to life. I've truly returned to Arno. I was given a second chance at life, and I shall live it properly as I had promised God. It shan't happen again. I will not make the same stupid mistake again this time, Guy asked. How do you feel? What are your thoughts on returning to Arno after being away for so long, my lord? Lord Zachary replied. My wife is shrieking at the heavens. She looks well. Arno Castle, Countship of Arno, Kingdom of Sevran. I see the black wolf flag before us in the distance. His lordship has returned. His lordship has returned. Lord Zachary de Arno, the Count of Blood and Iron, had finally come back. He earned his nickname because his silver hair gleamed like a well-forged sword when soaked with the blood of his enemies. The mere sight of his silver hair brought terror to the hearts of his foes. Welcome back to the castle, my lord. A meal has been prepared in the banquet hall, Vincent announced. Zachary replied warmly. Thank you, Vincent. It's been a long journey home for us all. I commend you for your perseverance. Let us eat and drink to our heart's content tonight. As the commanders of Arno's military forces regrouped, the chatter began. How was the expedition this time? It was the best. You're gonna regret not coming with us. You totally missed the opportunity to witness firsthand my awesome performance on the battlefield. Salver exclaimed, his excitement evident. Robert frowned. How can you chatter like that for hours on end? Aren't you tired? Tell Salver to shut up, will you? Robert muttered, struggling to keep his patience. Salver teased. Hey there, Sir Robert, whose life I saved. Have you already forgotten how I personally deflected the arrow coming for you with my sword? Damn it! Who knew I'd be in his debt? Robert grumbled. Salver smirked. I'll be telling that tale to your future wife, your future son, and your grandson. Just you wait. I'll be boasting about it to all your descendants. Their banter continued as someone interrupted. Where is his lordship? He's gone up to his room. The first thing he does upon his return is take a bath, even before having a meal. The conversation shifted, focusing on a young woman who had grown significantly during their absence. Her extravagant taste became a topic of quiet remarks, highlighted by the luxurious white fox fur she wore. Stop that, Salver. We mustn't make remarks about what his lordship has permitted, Robert warned. Meanwhile, Madame Bianca, Zachary's wife, made an unexpected appearance. It was the first time in years, perhaps 15 or 16, that she had come to see her husband upon his return from battle. She went directly to his chamber, her determination unshaken. Bianca? Zachary said, surprised as she entered. The door was open. I wasn't trying to peep or anything. Bianca stammered nervously. What brings you here? Is it something urgent? Zachary asked, his tone even. I heard of your return, and I came to see you. I am your wife, after all, Bianca said, her voice wavering slightly. Her thoughts raced. This man is as stiff and scary as always. Why won't he say anything? Is he annoyed because I barged in when he's tired and has a lot of work on his plate? Should I return to my room for now and come back tomorrow? But she resolved firmly, no. I vowed not to make the same foolish mistake again. If I don't take the first step, I may end up in the same place once more. You! Bianca addressed the servant in the room. I have something to discuss with his lordship, so leave us for a moment. The servant bowed. Yes, my lady. When they were alone, Zachary raised an eyebrow. I never thought I'd see the day that you'd actually want to converse with me. So, what did you want to talk about? Bianca hesitated, her cheeks flushed. Well, we've been married for 8 years. I'm 19, and I'll be 20 after this winter goes by. I'd like to do my duty as a wife. Duty? Zachary asked, puzzled. What kind of duty? I'm talking about an heir, she said, summoning her courage. I'm ready to bear the child who will be the next Count of Arno. I'm going to have your. Her voice faltered, the words hanging in the air between them. There was once a time when marriage held complete sway over noble ladies' lives. Prior to her marriage, a lady was raised by her father or a male sibling. After she married, her husband and his family were responsible for her welfare. There was once a time when a noblewoman without her father, siblings, or husband's family, and who hadn't given birth to an heir had no choice but to lead the most wretched life. So, I'm going to have your baby, Zachary added. Honestly, I'm rather taken aback. Do you know what you must do in order to conceive a child? Bianca replied. You're treating me like a child, but of course I know. I may be physically 19 years old, but mentally I'm older than you. I lived a longer life than you did before I died. Plus, we slept together in my past life sometime in my early 20s. I clearly remember how you tormented me in bed with single-minded tenacity. So how could I not know what having a baby entails? She say. I'm aware. I've heard the maids talk about it, so I know everything I need to know. Isn't it my job to give birth to the next Count of Arno? So I obviously should know that much at least. So, do you think you can do it? We both know in what manner a baby is conceived. Will you be able to do that with me to bear my child? He seems angry. I didn't think he'd welcome the suggestion, but I'm scared. I see. You're still scared of me. Pardon? Zachary replied. Why don't you retire to your chamber and get some rest? I'd like to rest as well. Wait. Let's continue this conversation later, she added. What? No. If this continues and I don't have a baby, then I have to live through those miserable years again. No. No, no, no. Absolutely not. My lord! Do you remember how much our marriage cost? 400 calves, 900 pigs, 100 silver bowls, 300 bolts of silk, 2 chests of jewels, and a portion of the territory, Zachary said. In total, Arno's budget for 2 years. A dowry is money that the bride brings over to her husband's house upon marriage. It's essentially like an early inheritance from her family, meant to provide for the bride in her new home. She think it is usually quite a large sum that changes hands, so it wasn't exactly easy to recall the exact amount of the dowry. It's not something you can just rattle off from the top of your head. However, there were instances in which a man would remember the sum down to the last coin, and that was when the husband would throw out his current wife to marry a different woman. You see, he had to return the bride to her family with the dowry she brought with her, Bianca added. So the rumors were true. I see it's true that you have a mistress. Don't worry, I won't tell you to put an end to your relationship. Feel free to keep seeing her, he shocked. What? She say. You can put her under me if you want, as your second wife. I won't get in the way between you two. My family paid a big dowry for me to be here, so let me do my duty and prove my worth. What's with that look on his face? Then again, he's probably pretty disconcerted. Any husband would be offended if his wife spoke about his mistress to his face. Lord Zachary replied. I wonder who in the world spoiled those ridiculous lies to you. As for an heir, I'm sure we'll naturally discuss that topic when the time is right. So for now, it is useless to discuss it, Bianca shouted. Wait just a minute! What do you mean by useless? Vincent! I know you're standing right outside the door, so escort Madame Bianca from my room, Vincent replied. Yes, my lord, I shall take you to your chamber, madam. My lord! Please listen! This is important to me, Lord, Zachary think. Her nursemaid died from the plague. I'm referring to the servant who came with her from Blanchefort. She was the only person in Arno that Madame Bianca opened up to. Her ladyship turned away all food and drink, and has been crying day and night. She became angry. Don't come close to me. If you've returned from the battlefield, why didn't you change out of your armor before you came to see me? You reek of blood, Lord Zachary think. When she first arrived in Arno, she would cry even when our eyes happened to meet. She'd avoid me when I returned from the battlefield, saying I reeked of blood. However, today she touched me without any hesitation. She did so even though she must have been uncomfortable by my scent since I haven't washed up yet. What has changed while I was away? Bianca added. I was 21 the first time the Count and I slept together. After that, we only shared a bed when he was about to go to war, but I was never able to produce an heir. He met his end when he went out to the battlefield in my 26th year. The Count is destined to die 7 years from now. I need to have his baby as soon as possible, before he dies, even if that means I have to jump him. The Count is destined to die 7 years from now. I need to sleep with him as soon as possible and create as many opportunities to share a bed as I can, even if that means I have to jump him. Vincent say, "Madam, I shall escort you to your chamber," she shouted. "There's no need. Don't follow me. I'll walk to my room myself." "Madam, didn't she come wearing the fox fur coat earlier?" She, think. I told myself I need to have his baby, even if it means I have to jump him, but I bet the Count wouldn't budge at all. I can throw myself at him all I want, but I'll probably bounce right off of him. I didn't know because it's been so long, but he's so much taller and scarier than I remember. Was his body always bulging with muscles too? Well, I wouldn't know. I only saw his naked body in the dark. Even if I waited a few years, my body wouldn't fill out that much. I wasn't voluptuous or soft, just thin and stiff. I know I'll be growing into a body that no man would be interested in, Bianca added. I wonder what kind of woman the Count's mistress is. Is she a serf? Or another noble's daughter? He probably loves her, doesn't he? 900 pigs. 100 silver bowls, 300 bolts of silk, 2 chests of jewels, and a portion of the territory. I can't believe he remembered the exact amount of my dowry. He must have gone over it many times to memorize it perfectly. He's getting ready to send me and my dowry back to Blanchefort, which he'll do as soon as he decides to take that woman as Countess Arno. Humph. It doesn't matter who the Count loves, but that means I have to bear the child of a man who loves someone else. Just the thought of it disgusts me, Lord, Zachary replied. You left your new fur coat in my room. It suits you. Thank you for today, she say. Thank you? For what? Why did he suddenly bring up the fur coat? Was he reprimanding me for buying something so extravagant? That sort of conversation did come up from time to time in the past. Maid shouted. What is this, my lord? Isn't this a squirrel fur coat? Not even a sable coat would be adequate for her right now. How could you bring her this? Lady Bianca gets cold very easily. Back in Blanchefort, she always had coats made with the highest quality fur. You may have acquired the title of a count, but your household can't hold a candle to the house of Count Blanchefort. It's outrageous what Lord Blanchefort has done. Lady Bianca was never meant to marry into a humble household headed by the second son of a viscount. She wasn't meant to be a mere countess. She could have been a duchess one day, Lord. Zachary say if you need anything from now on, tell Vincent. Madame Bianca's nursemaid, Jean, never kept her grievances against his lordship a secret. She was infamous among the servants in the castle of Arno for daring to raise her voice before his lordship. He used the money he earned to develop a wealthy territory so that Madame Bianca's extravagances would pose no hardship to his land. He may have been making a sarcastic remark when he said the fox fur coat suits me, but whether it be sarcasm or gratitude, he's never uttered such words to me before. Bianca think, he actually thanked me. Then again, this is the first time I have gone to see him when he returned from war. He must have been shocked. Even when Jean hurled those insults at him, his expression never changed. He remained as businesslike as ever. That's how he was. But he actually revealed his emotions to me today for the first time. I'm sure if I talk to him often face to face, I'll be able to change his mind about an heir. I'm going to jump you when that day comes. Brace yourself, my lord. The next day, everyone in Arno Castle was abuzz, discussing events that had never taken place before. There is conversation among maids. Is it true? Was Madame Bianca really looking all over the place for his lordship? Yes. She came all the way out to the front court. I heard she even went to his room right after that. No way. She did? My wife was cleaning the area in front of his room, and she saw it herself. She apparently left her coat in his room, so he brought it out and placed it around her shoulder. I wonder what happened in his chamber. Auntie reply. Head butler Vincent was standing in front of his lordship's room, so I'm sure nothing much happened. That's the first time Madame Bianca has done something like that, and his lordship has never reacted in such a manner before either. Maid say. So what in the world is going on? Whatever it is, it must be good. Madame Bianca is an adult now, And she's at an age where it's not unusual to have a child. Even if that's not what she's after, I think this is a sign that their relationship will improve. She must have had a change of heart, Auntie replied. Humph. You think she's had a change of heart? But what difference does it make if she did? After all, his lordship has to endure that dreary woman, doesn't he? Yvonne say. Hush, Auntie. Someone will hear you, Auntie added. So what? That's what everyone thinks. Everyone knows that she's a sullen girl who does whatever she wants. I can't believe all the knights and servants are so idiotically excited about this. Have you all forgotten overnight what kind of person she is? Don't you remember the way she screamed in her room and made a complete nuisance of herself? And now that we're on the subject, I can probably do a better job warming his lordship's bed than a woman like her, other maid reply her. Auntie, watch what you say. Don't you realize how rude you're being to his lordship and Madame Bianca? Auntie explained. But it's the truth. I bet her skin is just as icy as her personality. Cold and clammy like a snake or a frog. She's stick-thin and ugly, just like a reptile. Bianca became furious. You'd best bite down hard, girl, a voice countered. You're sitting here all alone? Zachary told me that you're willing to have me here as his second wife. Thanks to you, I can now live in Arno Castle too. Did she just call him Zachary? Who is this woman? Is she the Count's mistress? She replied. Don't you worry, sister-in-law. Zachary and I will deftly manage Arno Castle and its lands for you. So, my dear sister-in-law, all you have to do is stay holed up in your room as you've always done. Lord Zachary added we can discuss our heir sometime down the line. As always, if you need anything, ask Vincent to get it for you. You're the only one who can give me what I truly need. There's no one else, my lord. That dream felt so real, Bianca think. His rejection affected me more than I had realized yesterday. The Count actually showed his feelings yesterday, which is a rare occurrence. But who knows when his mistress will barge into the castle. For now, I'd better make sure I run into his lordship more often so that we can discuss having an heir. Or so that I can jump him. It's humiliating to beg him about something this intimate, but what else can I do? That's all I have right now. After all, his lordship has always considered me a dreary woman, doesn't he? Yvonne said. Hush, Auntie. Someone will hear you, Auntie replied. That's what everyone thinks. Have you all forgotten overnight what kind of person she is? And now that we're on the topic, I can probably do a better job warming his lordship's bed than a woman like her. Thinking raised, I remember being called a dreary and vicious woman, a wife who brought shame upon the household. I heard those words endlessly, even when I was begging on the streets. I was eventually able to ignore them without letting them affect me. But I absolutely cannot let them slide right now, Bianca added. Did you say I'm stick-thin and ugly, and clammy like a reptile? You knew I was frigid like a frog or a snake, but I bet you didn't know I was actually a viper, huh? That must have been why you were mindlessly jabbering away with that gaping trap of yours in the hallways that you know I walked past, Bianca shouted. You there! Bring me a switch! What an unlucky girl you are. I'm in an especially bad mood today. You don't think I'll let you off easy, do you? Yvonne replied. Madam, here it is. There's a limit to how much you can look down on me. How dare she compare herself to me? She's nothing but a lowly maid. Put out your hands. This is for comparing your humble self with your master. This is for uselessly listening to others when they were gossiping about your masters. This is for running your mouth. This is for maligning your master. Guy said someone bring head butler Vincent. Bianca added, and this is for daring to covet the lord of the house that you can never hope to have. What are you doing? Who are you? Pardon? Sir Robert explained, one of the commanders in the Three Wings. He was a loyal knight who'd been serving his lordship even before Madame Bianca joined the household. I understand she has no interest in his lordship whatsoever, but she didn't even know my name. My name is Robert, my lady. Robert. Isn't he one of the 3 commanders in the Count's military force? I am disciplining a maid right now, so let go. Flogging her with a switch is too excessive a punishment, my lady. You may be our master, but I can't stand idly by and let you treat a person like an animal. Auntie think, how did this blow up into such a commotion? All I did was tell the truth, Bianca added. I know I'm an extravagant and wicked wench, so it doesn't matter much to me if she tells the whole world about it. But I'm not so generous that I'm willing to turn a blind eye when someone is insulting me in front of my face. Just because I'm an unkind and frigid wife doesn't mean that you can crawl into my husband's bedchambers in my place, Lord Zachary asked. What's the commotion here? The Count? What's he doing here? Bianca think. The Count? Why did he have to appear right now? Auntie say. What a relief. His lordship will surely help. Yes, the Count was a generous master. He once caught a man stealing a half sack of wheat but turned the thief loose, ordering him to hand over a full sack by the following year as payment for his crime. In truth, the thief should have lost a hand as punishment for stealing his lord's property. So, this is the girl. She's your secret mistress, Lord Zachary say. Bianca, is your hand all right? My hand? He added. Vincent, my wife's hand needs to be treated. Summon the physician, Bianca reply. I'm fine. Tell your physician to treat your precious girl's face. She's your mistress, isn't she? I flogged her in order to educate a servant. I don't think my actions were excessive, but I shall withdraw for today. After all, she declared that she can warm your bed in my stead. Vincent shouted. Madam, what about your treatment? I don't need it. Do you want everyone in the vicinity to gossip about how I flogged a maid? Treat that girl's pretty face instead, Lord say. You. I want you to explain. What happened? Auntie added. My lord. I was just scrubbing the floor with all my might. But, Lord Zachary say, if all you were doing was scrubbing the floor, where did my wife get the idea that you're my mistress? Vincent. Don't let the castle get noisy over this matter. Pack up your things and get ready to go. Vincent think. This girl just told me the full details of what occurred. Discretion in speech is a valued virtue in servants, but your tongue is much too loose. It appears this castle is not the right place for you. So go home, she begged. One moment, sir. Please listen to what I have to say, head butler. What were you doing here, Sir Robert? Robert replied. I saw Madame Bianca hitting the maid and put a stop to it. I now see she had every right to be angry, considering what the maid said to insult her ladyship. I'm a bit surprised that she didn't quietly let it slide and actually punish the maid herself. She never had any interest in managing the castle or the land, which was why I did not believe her words. This entire time, all she has done is stay in her room and buy things. Vincent say what she has done today is what the lady of the house is supposed to do. I'm not sure of the reason's full certainty, but Madame Bianca has had a change of heart in regards to Arno. Bianca think. My hand is in so much pain. If my hand is this swollen, then it means that wench's hands must be as puffy as yeasty dough. The thought of that makes me feel a bit better. I wonder if the Count is comforting her right now. He's probably kissing her swollen hands this very moment, and whispering to her how he promises to throw me out one day and make her the Countess. The only person Madame Bianca opened her heart to was Jean, the nursemaid who came with her from Blanchefort. Her ladyship didn't take on a personal maid even after Jean passed away 5 years ago. The young madam had no one to depend on in Arno. Girl added. Hi, the person who's telling you this story right now was just a lowly maid who swept and scrubbed the floor outside her ladyship's door. I saw her endure the pain all by her lonesome, and all I could do was watch from afar. But, I beg your pardon, madam, Bianca asked. Who is it? Maid reply. I've brought some herb-infused water to make you a compress. It'll reduce the swelling and the heat in your hand. I understand you'd rather not see a physician, so how about a hot compress instead? Let me do it for you just this once. I'll just apply the compress for a bit, and leave you quickly and quietly, Maid added. Sure, go ahead. It hurts, doesn't it? I'll be gentle, madam. It's so warm. You fell in front of the servants, but you didn't cry and bore your pain very well. I'm sure everyone wanted to help you up, but they probably didn't dare put their hands on you because of your lofty position. Madam, a person who understands you will appear before you one day. And when they do appear, be the first to reach out and ask them to hold your hand. Bianca asked. What's your name? My name is Yvonne. This seems to be very effective. Could you apply this herbal compress on my hand tomorrow as well? Bianca say. I sensed Madam's fear of rejection beneath her command, but I saw it for what it was. She had reached out to me first and made a request. My heart filled with joy when I realized that I finally had something I could do for her ladyship. Fiancé. Yes, of course, my lady, Bianca think. So that's taken care of, but what am I supposed to do now? The Count loves another woman, so he probably won't want to have a baby with me. But if I don't give birth to a child, then my position in Arno is precarious. What do I do? What am I supposed to do? Think of something, Bianca. What must I do to stay alive? Oh, how pretty, Fiancé. I'm sorry, madam. I saw that this had fallen to the floor. It looks like a goddess's robe. I've never seen such a lovely fabric, Bianca told her. Yes, I have that. That's right. Even if I don't have the Count's heir or my father or brother to support me, I have a weapon that I can wield to my advantage. 10 years ago, in Lhasa, the capital of Sevran, a young knight hurried through the bustling streets. You there? One moment, young knight, called a voice. A tall man approached, remarking, Perhaps it's your long legs, but you're quite fast. Are you Viscount Hleigel's son? The knight replied. My brother inherited the Hughes Viscounty 3 years ago. You must be Baron Zachary de Arno. The man smiled, introducing himself. My name is Gustave de Blanchefort. Pleased to make your acquaintance. Recognizing the name, the knight stammered. Count Blanchefort. He's a loyal vassal to the Kingdom of Sevran and First Prince Galadier's right-hand man. Blanchefort dismissed the knight's flustered apology. Gustave de Blanchefort added, Not at all. I'm the one who stopped you. Would you be willing to spare me a few minutes of your time? I've been wanting to speak to you for some time. Over floral tea, Gustave de Blanchefort praised the knight's bravery, calling him the Black Wolf of Sevran. He proposed a partnership. Serve Prince Galadier with me, and let us bask in the glory of our loyal service. The bright future of Sevran welcomes you. Although hesitant, the knight accepted the offer, pledging his loyalty to the future king. Gustave de Blanchefort had another proposal. Marriage. Lord Zachary, startled, replied, Pardon? With you? Gustave de Blanchefort laughed. Certainly not me. I have a lovely daughter who hasn't wed yet. If you marry her, you'll be part of the Blanchefort family, and I'll use all my connections and wealth to support you. For Zachary, who had been cast out of his house with nothing, this marriage offered a chance to rebuild his honor and gain a family. Count Gustave de Blanchefort's proposal was both bold and alluring. What that means is I'll be able to use the entirety of my connections and wealth to support you to the fullest, he declared. I believe this marriage is worth all that. I hope you use this opportunity to your advantage. A worthwhile marriage indeed, and one that was hard to turn down. For Lord Zachary Arno, who had been cast out from the House of Hughes with nothing to his name, this proposal was a lifeline. The marriage promised him honor, a good family, and the stability he desperately needed. It also appeared to be a business deal with immense potential for profit. The dowry alone was staggering: 400 calves, 900 pigs, 100 silver bowls, 300 bolts of silk, 2 chests of jewels, and even a portion of the territory. In total, it equaled Arno's budget for 2 years. Vincent added, I can't believe a bride is bringing this much as a dowry. Zachary thought. Despite the wealth she brought, Lord Zachary replied resolved. I'll have to do my best to provide her with the treatment she deserves. Turning his focus towards securing their future, Lord commanded. Send a reply to the Lord who requested troops from us last month. Ask him how much will be paid in campaign funds if Arno were to dispatch our military force. If marriage could be likened to a business, then Zachary Arno had essentially sold himself as a warhorse to the House of Blanchefort. The precious wife he gained through this transaction, Bianca, was much more than a means to wealth. Zachary found himself reflecting on her as he observed her swollen hand, proof of her recent attempts at managing household affairs, something she had never done before. The night Zachary expelled Auntie from the castle, he urgently summoned his 3 commanders. Their speculation ran wild. Robert think. Why is he in such a rush? Did Aragon invade us again? They wondered. Lord reply. This is a much bigger, more crucial matter, Zachary announced, silencing their chatter. The commanders stared in disbelief as he continued. I want you to serve as my wife's guide. Pardon? One commander exclaimed. This really is a bigger deal than going to war, another added. Why does her ladyship need a guard? She stays in her room all day, Zachary, undeterred, explained. From the fact that Bianca doesn't budge from her chamber on most days, and yet such an incident occurred almost as soon as she emerged, I want one of my most trusted men to stay by her side, so that my wife will not be hurt again. With unwavering conviction, Lord Zachary concluded. Because Bianca is the most worthy person of such protection in all of Arno. Good morning, madam. She's still asleep. She might wake up. Yvonne think. Her hand is still so swollen. It would heal much faster if she would just let the physician treat it. I wouldn't think for a minute that her ladyship and I share similar circumstances. But I have a little sister who is about madam's age. Lucy. My sister married a man who's much older than she is, and I wasn't able to see her too often. Whenever I thought of her ladyship feeling lonely in this big castle, I couldn't help but think of my sister too. Is that you, Yvonne? Madam, I'm so sorry. Did I wake you? Bianca say. No, I was planning on waking up around this time anyway. I won't laze around and dawdle in bed, thanks to you. Could you help me change? Are you going out? Yes. I have a lot of things to do today. It's still a bit chilly, Yvonne say. Forgive my clumsiness, madam. I forgot to bring your fur coat. I'll fetch it from your room at once, Bianca thought. That girl is very perceptive. She's smart, and I appreciate the way she always tries to accommodate me. If I'd met her in my past life, if I'd known her a little earlier, would things have turned out differently? Get a grip, Bianca. No more what-ifs. You barely have enough time as it is, even if you fully focus on your new life. Stop wasting your time by dwelling on past regrets, Vincent asked. Madam? What did you just say? She added. Even long before I married his lordship. You've managed Arno in a most prudent manner, he reposed. Yes, I have, she replied. The new lady of the house usually shoulders those responsibilities, but I wasn't able to because I was too young. That's true, I'm 19 years old. I'm absolutely of an age where I can manage the household in earnest. And who can impart those skills to me as shrewdly as you? That is why I'd like you to seriously start teaching me your ways, Vincent. Her ladyship said my name properly. He think, why am I so happy over something that shouldn't even have been an issue in the first place? Come to think of it, something changed in her after she received the white fox fur coat. She doesn't acquire extravagances like she used to. Her spending on luxuries used to be on the heavy side. But now, it veers all over the place in a heavy, light, medium, heavy, light pattern. Yesterday's incident came about because of a maid's inappropriate remarks. And though her punishment was excessive, she still strove to bring order through appropriate discipline without being a bystander, he added. When she said she wanted to learn from me, she wasn't asking me lightly. Leave it to me, madam. There's nothing like seeing it all for yourself. Since you've brought up the subject, I shall explain everything to you while we personally go around the territory. Let us go, Bianca think. Giving birth to the Count's child won't be an easy endeavor. That was already proven to be true in my previous life. Then let's start with something I didn't do back then. Managing Arno. I'll learn the tasks and find the people I need in this county. If I can bring progress to Arno through those people, then the Count will understand that I'm not a child who doesn't know anything. He'll realize that we can be political partners, Vincent replied. I actually have something else to tell you. It's about your guard. She think my guard? One of these men will be serving as your guard from today. I believe you met Sir Robert yesterday. This is Sir Gaspard. He's a bit on the reserved side. Sir Salvor over here is from a family of free citizens, Vincent say. Well then, who would you like to choose as your guard, madam? She reply. You want me to pick right now? Vincent say. One must strike the iron while it's hot. The Count's 3 loyal commanders. It's clear as day on their faces that they're uncomfortable with this. So how am I supposed to choose? Bianca reply. It's all right. I have you with me. I want to avoid going around with a large group and creating a fuss, he say. Forgive my impertinence, madam, Bianca thought, but his lordship commanded it. A command from the Lord of Arno. And here I thought I could be a political partner to the man who holds absolute power in the territory. I got much too ahead of myself. He just got around to assigning a guard for me. And it's not just any soldier, ordered me to pick someone among those closest to him. A personal guard might just be a hollow excuse. Perhaps what he really wants is to surveil me. Lord Zachary thinks Madame Bianca must have felt miserable in that moment. Imagine a guard who is, in truth, a surveillant, who reports her every deed in the castle to his lordship. Then could one really say that Madame and his lordship are equals in their marriage? Madame Bianca, who resolved to learn how to manage the household, needs a personal guard. One of the three commanders awaits her ladyship's choice. Will the guard's future be a walk in the park, or a trek through thorny brambles? Who will Madame Bianca choose? It is true that for her entire life, a wife will need her husband's permission for everything, but the Count never demanded anything of me all these years. I need to think of this in a positive way. Robert, that man tried to stop me from what I was doing yesterday without even listening to what I had to say. He'd be the kind of guy who nags at me wherever we go. Gaspard, he's described as a quiet man, so he probably won't say anything unnecessary, but he might also be a bit frustrating to be around. Saliveller, he's from a family of free citizens, right? Bianca think he seems completely tactless. He's definitely a no. This is my second life, but I don't think I've ever had to make a decision that puts so much pressure on me. I don't like any of them, but if I must choose, my guard shall be. Who is this? Could it be Fiancé? I'm sorry, madam. I didn't know where you were, so I went all the way to the head butler's room before coming out here. That's why it took me so long. Bianca replied, thank you, Yvonne. You must have had a tough time yourself going up and down the stairs. Maids say I'm fine. Being healthy is my specialty. Saliveller say who's the cute maid? Her ladyship is very friendly with her. Robert replied, I'm not sure. Maybe it's her personal maid. Her ladyship didn't know who I was, but she knows that maid by her name. Bianca think. It was a stressful situation, but the tension faded, thanks to Yvonne. But anyway, why aren't any of them volunteering for the job? Gaspard say I would like to serve as Madame Bianca's guard. Bianca added, Gaspard? He and the Count seem to be about the same size, and just like his lordship, I can't tell what Gaspard is thinking at all. He readily offered to be my guard, but I feel uneasy because I don't know what's on his mind. Robert say, are you serious? Saliveller reply, you're kidding, right? Gaspard added, I can hear you guys. She say, at least Gaspard won't be noisy. That's fine with me. Vincent added, very well, madam. With that, the position of Madame's guard goes to Sir Gaspard. We've wasted too much time here. Will you show me the seamstress's quarters first? Lord, say Bianca. She think the Count? Bianca asked, what is it? Why are you staring at my face so intent? I'm going to touch your face for a moment. Bianca shocked, what? Count added, you have a fever. Yvonne think, huh? He's right. You must have been standing outside for too long without your. Robert think, the Count's office. Was his lordship watching us this whole time? Lord Zachary say, I think you should go back to your room now. She added, I need to speak to my wife, so I shall be taking her with me. Go see to your duties. Servants. His lordship is escorting Madame Bianca inside. She think it's obvious what he wants to talk about. It's probably regarding yesterday's events. I think he wants me to apologize to that wench. He wants to bring her in as his second wife, so he probably wants to mend the relationship between me and her. Well, aren't you the lover of the century? While you were enjoying days of passion with that woman, I was all alone in my room, experiencing days of loneliness. What kind of excuse were you going to make if I didn't have a fever? She asked. You can tell me to apologize to that girl all you want, but I won't do it. I have pride too, you know? She may be the woman you love, but I'm Countess Arno. For now, at least. Count say I dismissed that maid. Bianca surprised, what? You dismissed her. Bianca added, wait a minute. Are you trying to make me indebted to you this way? Count reply, I don't have a mistress. She added, you just want to downplay this and move on, don't you? You treat me like a child. But you're not fooling me with such words. Lord Zachary say, I don't know what kind of scoundrel you take me for. But I'm not the kind of despicable husband who secretly keeps a mistress on the side. Bianca, it's my fever. Or perhaps it's because he's covering my eyes. I don't know whose heartbeat I'm hearing. But it's roaring in my ears. Bianca think, what is this scent? I smell a familiar fragrance from the Count's wrist. I smelled this in my past life too. It's the scent of musk. I can't believe I was thinking about such things just now. So, you're saying she wasn't your mistress? Very well. If you hate hearing about mistresses that much, I'll assume you don't have one and will never speak of them again. Lord, reply, you're so stubborn. She added, then or now, if we already had a child between us, I'd never suspect for 1 minute that you had a woman on the side. If I told others that I'm a noblewoman without a single child at 19, what would they think? Lord Zachary say. It doesn't matter whether you believe me or not. If I say I don't have a mistress, then I don't. It's also still too early to have an heir, she replied. If you have no intention of producing an heir right now, then why are you even giving me a personal guard? They're all such cumbersome men to keep by my side, and you wanted me to choose one of them? He said. I only wanted to prevent something untoward from happening to you when you go about alone, like it did yesterday, she shouted. Well, I have a personal maid now, Lord Zachary surprised. Who do you think would protect you better, a knight trained to guard or a servant who's only done household chores? A maid is just a maid, she added. They call him the Count of Blood and Iron, but he might as well be a bulwark of iron. You think I'm stubborn? Talk about the pot calling the kettle black. I'm going around your castle, so what else could possibly happen? He explained. Bianca, Arno Castle isn't just mine. It's our castle. Our? He said. Our. He's never uttered words in my previous life that referred to us as a single entity. Lord say, your fever is rising. Let us stop arguing now, she think. You ruined my plans for today, my lord. Our conversation never even reached the point of an argument. You were about to tell me something. Those were the questions that Madame Bianca wanted to ask his lordship, but her fever kept rising, leaving her extremely ill for the next few days. In her dreams, she ruminated on where her fever might have begun. Vincent say, I hear you volunteered to serve as Bianca's guard, Gaspard. Robert and Sover were tasked with splitting Gaspard's other duties. I'll take care of the military logistics, said Robert. Leave the stables to me, Sover added. You just do your best guarding Madame Bianca, Vincent explained. I haven't made this in some time. Another chimed in, handing out cups. But here's some vin chaud for everyone. They reminisced about Madame Bianca's unpredictable nature, recounting how she had once nicknamed someone Vin Chaud before shortening it to Vinny. Recently, she had even expressed interest in learning how to manage the household. Madame's heart is as unpredictable as a drop of water tumbling on a lotus leaf. There's no telling what she'll do next, Lord asked. Didn't you say she usually doesn't leave her room? Yes, he replied. That's how she used to be. But she's certainly created quite a fuss the past few days. Curiosity grew about what Gaspard and Bianca had discussed. She got it into her head that I secretly had a mistress, Gaspard explained. Lord say, I believe she was worried that she'd be sent back to Blanchefort because she considers herself an unkind and frigid wife. Robert think that might be why she was so furious about what the maid said yesterday. Has Bianca sent any letters to Blanchefort? Lord asked. Vincent replied. Not at all, came the reply. She hasn't sent or received any missives from there. They discussed Count Blanchefort's indifference, recalling how he had focused on matters of the plague 5 years ago when Bianca's nursemaid, Jean, died. Jean had been like a mother to Bianca, Lord explained. Count Blanchefort had shown no interest in Bianca even then. His lordship, however, had recently instructed Vincent to teach her everything she needed to know about managing the household before spring, as he planned to take her to Lajas. Robert think. So guarding her ladyship wasn't a temporary task, Gaspard exclaimed. I thought it would last no more than a quarter of a year at most. Despite Gaspard's attempts to calm her, she refused to go further in the carriage. If we stop here, we must camp in the woods tonight, he explained. That's your problem, she retorted. Why does his lordship suddenly want to take his wife to Lajas? He wondered. She would probably buy piles of stuff in the capital, as it's the center of fads and fashion. But isn't it a wife's duty to manage the household and await her husband at the castle? Sover asked. Another speculated. Could it be, my lord? Are you taking her ladyship to Lajas, in hopes of begetting an heir? Lord thinking about Bianca that. I'm going to have your. That's not something I wish to discuss. The trip has nothing to do with that, Sover think. I don't think what I said was bad enough that he'd turn red in anger. His lordship is scary when he's angry, so I'd better stop asking, Robert say. So that's what you wanted to discuss with her ladyship? That she'll be coming with you to the capital in the spring, Lord reply. No, that wasn't it. Pardon? Lord added, should I inform her, after all? I thought I didn't have to let her know immediately since we're not leaving right away, they said. Her ladyship might not want to go, my lord. Why does he think she'll agree to go with him? Where is this confidence coming from? Madame Bianca, who had no idea of his lordship's slightly thoughtless plans, cast off her fever in a few days and began learning about managing the household. Sorry I'm late, Vincent. Vincent say, Madam, I wish you a good morning, she added. It took a while for me to get ready, and I had no idea so much time had passed, he said. I see you've bundled up thoroughly against the weather. It certainly is quite cold today, Bianca asked. Don't you think this is a bit much? Yvonne say. Not at all, madam. I wasn't aware you got cold so easily. If I'd known you'd lie in bed with a fever for days, Bianca say, I would have brought you more than just the fox fur. You've no idea how much I regret, madam. Let's go. The Counts of Arno is mostly flatlands. This area and the hill the castle is built on are considered the territory's highest points. There is a dense forest and a river to the east. We're very grateful that the land is amenable to farming, husbandry, and forestry. She think. I didn't care a whit about Arno's geography in my past life. Vincent told me about this area exactly once back then. It was a bit after the Count died in battle, the day I was cast out of Arno by Viscount Hughes, the Colant's brother. Vincent say, walk directly east from here, and you'll come upon a forest. Follow the path through the forest for about 10 days, and you'll reach land owned by a household who has connections to the Hollis of Blanchefort. I walked barefoot all day and night back then, and I remember thinking that it's a good thing the land was on the flat side. She think. I loathed this vast acreage when my circumstances were poor, but now that I contemplate this land with the resolve to survive however I can, it is a splendid terrain indeed. Bianca surprised it's beautiful. After Vincent explained the territory as they looked down on the land from a high vantage point, the first place he took Bianca to was the seamstress's quarters. He must have remembered that Madame had been curious about this place the last time they spoke. It was in the midst of a thorough explanation regarding embroidery that goes on the clothing and banners that something happened, someone said. So that's the countess, huh? Lord reply. I heard she thrashed Auntie, a girl who works in the castle, and threw her out of the place. They say her ladyship is a scrawny, ugly woman. There is conversation between ladies that, look at her. She's not scrawny at all. She's actually got some girth to her. I heard Auntie's face swelled up like a loaf of bread, and no wonder, if she was smacked around by a woman that size. Yvonne shouted. They think Madame is a large woman, but she's such a petite girl. She only looks a bit bulky because of all the clothes I made her put on today. Did she hear them? Bianca added. That embroidery over there. Who worked on it, and for how long? Lady reply. It was me, Madame. It took about 4 days, and I'm still finishing it up. Bianca say. I want you to come see me sometime tomorrow. Where, Vincent? Madam, please slow down. Lady became confused. But why? Did I do something wrong? That black-haired seamstress has a skillful hand. She also works quickly, which means she'll be easy to teach, Vincent added. The next places we'll visit are the meat storage and the chandlery. She became happy. There's a chandlery on our territory? Vincent explained. Here we have the meat storage. This is where we produce and store salted meat to be eaten in the winter. We do the slaughtering ourselves, which means we have quite a bit of animal fat, Bianca shouted. So, where's the chandlery? He replied. It's right over there. I didn't know the place where they make the candles was so close to. Candles were a precious commodity in the abbey, and it wasn't something they handed out on the regular. I'll take a close look at how it's made and memorize the process. Man say, this is lard. You dip the wick repeatedly in the fat to make the candle thicker. Feel it for yourself, madam, she replied. This isn't like the one in my room. Its scent is overpowering. It's due to the difference in material. The candles used in your and his lordship's chambers and the dining room are high-quality products made of beeswax. Beeswax can only be extracted in springtime when bees make honey. As such, there is only a small quantity available, and they go for a high price. It creates less soot and has a milder scent, so it is typically used in the royal palace or during religious ceremonies, Vincent replied. His lordship ordered us to place beeswax candles in all the rooms you're likely to frequent, so that is why you're not used to the smell of lard candles, she asked. Are you saying you're using up those precious things because of You're giving me flack for my extravagances again, aren't you? Well, why didn't you tell me earlier if the candles I've been lavishly using all this time were so precious and so costly? Vinny reply. Not at all, madam, we did so under his lordship's order, Bianca say. That's enough. Let's head back for today. You were quite cold to me in my past life, Vinny. So I'm gonna give you a hard time whenever I get the chance. Anyway, I've achieved all I've wanted to do today, so I'll head back now, Gaspard say. What was that sound? You. Who are you? Man shouted Nicola. Why were you in there? Get behind me, madam. But why? That's a knife. Did someone lurge that child too? With that knife? Man added. My goodness, sir. This boy is the son of a fellow chandler. He must have been led into his usual foolishness by hiding because he was afraid of getting scolded. Please forgive him for holding a knife just this once. Then again, he probably wouldn't be able to do much harm with such a tiny knife, Bianca ordered. Put the boy down, Sir Gaspard. He seems to have hurt his hand, so please take a look at the injury, Yvonne. Thank you. I'm so very grateful, madam. I'll give him a stern talking to and make sure this sort of thing never happens again. Anyway, what did you mean by his foolishness? Do you know what he does when he's hiding from you? Well, he mars the candles so badly that they become nigh useless, she say. Makes them useless? Are you referring to this? He's shocked. Goodness! Why would he hack up the candles into such a mess? The little boy Nicola replied. I wasn't trying to wreck it. I saved the divine. In my dreams last night, the divine told me they're trapped in the candle and suffocating, so they asked me to rescue them. So I carved into the candle, until I set them free, Bianca say. Has this child ever learned to sculpt? Man reply. Of course not. His late father was a chandler, and his mother is a maid. He was born into a poor household and will ultimately become a chandler like his father, but he keeps indulging his habit of ruining candles, Vincent added. Madam, at times, a single real-life lesson is more helpful than a multitude of theories. It's just a single candle, but that's still a piece of property that belongs to Arno. That boy used an object that belongs to Arno for a private endeavor. It's technically no different from theft. You must admonish him harshly and frighten him out of his wits to set an example. Nicola think. This is Madame Bianca that everyone's been talking about. I heard she beat a maid who works in the castle a few days ago. What if she beats me like that too? You. Yes, madam, Bianca say. I want you to come see me sometime tomorrow. Let's go, Vincent added. Pardon? Madam, a single real-life example is very important. Are you listening, madam? What do I do, mister? I'm so scared. That's how the long first day of household management lessons came to an end. The next day, early morning, the two individuals who were summoned by Madame Bianca arrived at the castle. They both felt it would be best to get any scolding out of the way as early as possible. Was this kid summoned by Madame Bianca too? Yvonne say. You two got here at the same time. Welcome. I'll take you to her ladyship, Nicola asked. Excuse me. Thank you for treating my finger yesterday. I washed your handkerchief yesterday, but I didn't bring it with me because it's not fully dry yet. I'll bring it to you later, she say. You should thank her ladyship, not me. She's the one who told me to treat your hand, and the handkerchief actually belongs to her. What? She added. Her dresses don't have pockets, so I carry it around for her. She also said she hopes the wound will heal properly and won't leave a scar. Boy shocked. She did? Of course, traitor, she think. Auntie, the maid who was let go the other day, had many friends in and outside the castle. A rumor spread among Auntie's friends that Madame Bianca had been responsible for getting her booted from the castle, and I was labeled as Madame's vicious crony who betrayed one of my colleagues. I became the object of hatred in the castle, Nicola asked. Are you alright? Yvonne replied. Yeah, I'm fine. I should have been looking ahead as I was walking. Luckily, being healthy is my specialty, so I wasn't hurt at all. Let's go. Madame is waiting, Bianca said. You're here early. I see you two are quite diligent. I told you to come see me sometime today, but I didn't expect it to be so early, maid surprised. She looked like a plump gnome yesterday. Boy think, however, she looks completely different today, Bianca say. Would you say you're a tight-lipped person? Maid added. I've often been told that I'm quite reserved, Bianca say. Good. You cannot tell anyone about these designs that I'm about to show you until I give you permission to do so. I shall be teaching you to tat lace, and I want you to make as many as you can in a week, maid reply. Yes, my lady. What's a lace? Bianca added. And you've been using Arno's candles to make sculptures as you please, haven't you? Vinny told me thieves lose a hand as punishment for their crime. But considering your young age, I shall give you a different punishment, boy shocked. A different punishment? Madam, this is, she told him. You recognize it, Chandler's son indeed. That's right. These are beeswax candles of the highest quality. You may sculpt them however you like, but you must return the finished product to me. That's your punishment. I'll inform Vinny so that you can get a new candle when you've finished working on one, Nicola added. This is no punishment, madam. It's a prize. Why are you giving a lowly servant like me something so precious? I was so sure that you would throw me out of the territory, Bianca explained. Do you two know what an investment is? It's an act of putting time and money into something in order to do business. I want to invest in your talents. The very talents that allow you to make beautiful and valuable creations. I'm planning on doing business with those items. Lace. It is a beautiful and lightweight handcrafted item made by weaving thread together. Lace later becomes all the rage in Sevran and its neighboring countries. It develops into an article of fashion that enhances the richness of outfits. The origin of lace production will later be recorded in history as none other than Arno. The seamstresses who later become master lace craftswomen were initially taught how to tat lace by Countess Bianca de Arno. At the time, however, no one ever imagined that Arno would become the center of lace production. Vincent say, Madam, the amount of flax thread listed on this order form, is this really the correct number? And what do you mean I'm to give the little Chandler boy all the beeswax candles he wants? Didn't you see the beautiful candle Nicola carved? Has talent, I guarantee it. But isn't it too costly an item to give to a child as a plaything? Bianca say, looking at expensive and beautiful items makes happy. So I can't say that particular thought has ever crossed my mind. As for the flax thread, give it to that seamstress. We'll need more in the future, so I'd like you to procure as much as you can. Then I'll see you later. Internal dialogue of Vinny. Wah. Madam's spending habits are returning to the way it was before. It's reverting from heavy, light, medium, heavy, light back to the heavy side. Yvonne shocked. Fire! What do I do? This is the only winter outfit I own. You should have looked after your things better, maid said. I guess she didn't know that this sort of thing could befall her. If she's going to betray a colleague, she should at least have quicker wits about her. Well, it's obvious she's sticking to that nasty madam's side because she's such a dullard. Considering how madam tires easily of everything, she'll probably cast Yvonne out before long. Just wait and see, she added. I don't think I can fix this. Yvonne reply, I guess I have no choice but to throw it away. Maid reply. I'm sorry, Yvonne. You're going through so much, but I can't even seem to help in any way. I mean, I'm the one who got the switch from Madam and brought head butler Vincent to the scene that day. I know you're staying by Madam's side because she reminds you of your sister, but it's so awful that you're being ostracized like this. Why don't you wear my coat for now? You might catch a cold, Yvonne replied. No, I'm fine. You have to work in the hallway all day today. Being healthy is my specialty. I can withstand this kind of cold weather, no problem, Bianca say. Your clothes seem to be getting thinner with each passing day, Yvonne say. I was rather clumsy and accidentally burned one of my outfits. Don't worry, madam. I'm so healthy that I've never caught a cold before, Bianca added. Come to think of it. Remember the gray squirrel fur coat that was purchased a while back? I haven't worn that in some time, Yvonne say. I'm sure that coat is still around. Squirrel fur is good, but you have the sable coat, which is way better. The sable coat is much more luxurious, and it suits you better, Bianca replied. Yes, exactly. I suppose that means I won't be wearing the squirrel coat anymore. Will you take it off my hands, Yvonne? Me, madam? Bianca say. I even bought a fox fur coat this year. You may wear the squirrel coat or throw it away. Do as you like. I'd like you to wear it, if it's at all possible. I always want you to stay by my side in your best state of health, madam? Could it be? Was she worrying about me? She's so kind. How does it look? Bianca say. It suits you. Is it uncomfortable or too small? Not at all, madam. It's so warm and comfortable, Bianca reply. Excellent. I must dress my maid in something of that quality at the very least. I wouldn't feel at ease otherwise. Vinny must be waiting. Let's go. Yes, madam. Madam called me her maid. I'm going to pass this coat down for generations. Gaspard think. It looks good on her. Where will we be touring? The pastures, madam, Bianca added. Pastures? You let the sheep graze in the wintertime? Vincent say. The sheep and cattle are given hay that was harvested in the fall. However, we let the horses graze all winter long. We do so because his lordship ordered us to raise the horses in such a way so that they can withstand even the harshest cold, Bianca think. That means Arno's horses must be sturdy stock. That's good to hear. If I get cast out from the castle in this lifetime as well, I'll make sure I get a horse before I leave. Oops, I didn't even realize my mind went there. I assumed the worst possible outcome for myself. I swore that I wouldn't get myself thrown out this time, but old habits die hard. This is why having prior experience can be a scary thing. End of scene. Madam, look over there. The Count? Is he herding the horses? She think. He should have just ordered the lower-ranking knights to do that sort of work. What's he doing with his shirt undone in this freezing weather? Madam stopped in her tracks and gazed at his lordship for a long time. His lordship was riding the horse like it was an extension of his own body, and she found that she couldn't take her eyes off of him. Bianca added. The Count looks so free. Oh, how I envy that freedom of his. What was it you told me? That Arno castle belongs to both of us. You can say that because you're free, but that's still a long way off for me, my lord. Madam only realized much later that the envy and jealousy she felt at that moment was, in truth, an inferiority complex. She felt that way because she was just barely beginning to learn the basics of managing the household, unlike his lordship, who had already been taking care of the territory the way he saw fit for many years. Hi, friends. Good morning. He became glad. Daddy Saliver is going to give all of you still in the stable a nice brushing right now. You see, his lordship is setting your other friends to graze in my place today. I didn't want to go outside because it's freezing out, so this works out perfectly for me. Hey there, my cute little pony. Were you staying warm and cozy with your mother? Well, Daddy Saliver is going to be the very first person to brush your... Ooh, your coat is such a beautiful color. Hurry up and grow into a brave and mighty horse so that we can roam the battlefields together. Also, you're being raised as a precious creature in the Black Wolf Battalion of Arno, so you can't promise your heart to just any horse out there, got that? If you want a boyfriend, you have to take a close look at their breed, age, and even his parents. Be it human or horse, a family tree is of the utmost importance. She entered. Salver say, My lady? How long have you been standing there? I'll pretend I didn't see that, so just finish whatever you were doing. Salver think I heard she'd been touring all over the territory as of late, but what brought her to the stables? Her ladyship has always been the kind of person who expresses her displeasure with her entire being, even when she first arrived in Arno after marrying his lordship 8 years ago. So, I'm not sure exactly how I should deal with her, he added. I didn't feel like thoroughly cleaning the stable today, so I just did a cursory job. Is she going to find fault with it? Bianca say, Are you all right, Yvonne? Yes, madam. I was just a little startled. Thank you, sir. I see there are still a decent number of horses remaining in the stables. There seem to be quite a few horses set out to graze. Vincent say, That's correct, madam. The first thing his lordship did upon gaining power was to purchase war horses. Arno is probably the only territory in Sevran that has a cavalry of this size. I once heard that a single warhorse costs as much as a house. I mean, how many houses are we talking here? He added there used to be scoundrels who mocked his lordship for wasting his money on horses, but they lost to him in battle and had their horses seized by the Arno army. His lordship participated in many wars since an early age and knew how important mobility is in a battlefield. She think he's such an insightful man. He even herds horses himself out on the range on a cold day like this. Truly an admirable landlord, wouldn't you say? By any chance, would it be possible for me to ride one of these horses? What? Vincent reply, You want to try riding a warhorse? Yvonne, horses are much too dangerous, madam. He added, Have you learned to ride, my lady? Bianca say no, but I can learn, can I? Warhorses have completely different temperaments from ordinary steeds. They're sensitive and smart creatures, and they rear back furiously when an unfamiliar rider gets on them. Vincent replied, There certainly are aristocratic ladies who learn to ride for the purposes of refinement, But you must get permission from his lordship if you want to take lessons, she added. I have to get his permission for something as trivial as that? Very well, I'll ask him to permit me to receive riding lessons. Yes, madam. I'm not sure if that stubborn man would allow it though. The first married couple fight. Battle of the personal guard I lost. I lost last time because he had a better argument, so I'm not too confident about this. In any case, thanks for your hard work. If I do get permission from my husband to learn horseback riding, I suppose I'll be seeing you more often. I look forward to working with you when the day comes. I'll see you again next time, my little friend. Saliver, what are you doing just standing out here in the cold? Saliver replied. So her ladyship and her posse passed by for a visit just now. The image of her ladyship is of a rather prickly woman, so I thought she'd complain about how dirty and smelly the stable is and for me to stay well away from her. But she actually might be a better person than I thought. Robert say, are you being sincere? He replied, they say those who are kind to animals and children are good people. She called this little one, friend. She also wasn't intimidated in the midst of all those war horses and asked point blank if she could ride any of those horses. She's a true aristocrat, all right. There's no doubt about that. I think I'm smitten. I like confident, headstrong women. Robert think. Her ladyship wanted to try riding a war horse? What in the world is happening in Arno? Yvonne, you're still here? Yvonne reply. I just warmed up your bed so that it's nice and toasty. Shall I dry your hair, madam? Bianca say it's all right. You may go now. You must be tired from today, so you should get some rest. Yes, madam. Have a good night. Bianca added good night. I'll see you tomorrow. I love snuggling in the warm blankets with my half-dry hair out. Okay, let's look over the homework she turned in. Bianca thinks she did a very pretty job at tatting this. She can even come up with new designs. It would be wonderful if she can teach the other seamstresses how to tat lace. Did someone knock just now? Oh, someone came into the room. Is it Yvonne? Someone's patting my hair dry. When I went to bed with my hair still wet as a child, Jean would dry it for me. Who is this kind person? Lord Zachary added. Darling, she replied. What are you doing here? Why is the Count in my room at this hour? This sort of thing never happened until I was 21 in my previous life. Did he change his mind because I kept prodding him about an heir? If that's the case, I'd better make it happen while I've got the chance. I did it. What do I do next? Lord said, calm down, Bianca. Your body may be younger than his, but your mind is almost 10 years older. It's okay, you can do it, Bianca. I apologize for startling you. I came by to ask you a question, but I saw that you'd fallen asleep with your hair still wet. I mean, it would be very difficult for you if you caught another cold, so I was just going to dry it as fast as possible and leave. She added, I was much faster in my imagination, but the Count in real life is much quicker. So, what is it? What did you want to ask me at this late hour? Well, what do you think of Gaspard? She asked. Why are you suddenly asking about him? Lord asked, did you have any difficulties with him while he was with you the past few days? She replied. It's not like you're going to withdraw your guard just because I'm uncomfortable around him. I'm sure you only feel at ease when someone's with me. He does stick out like a sore thumb wherever we go because of his size, but otherwise, he's been doing a very good job, Lord added. Is that so? He's doing a good job? She think, what's this? He asked me how Gaspard was, and I told him he's fine. So why does he look so displeased? But anyway, my neck aches. I have to crane my neck way back to look at you because you're so uselessly tall, my lord. Bianca say. Dear, Lord Zachary, surprised were you calling me just now, she added. Who else? I actually have a question for you too. So, will you sit next to me and listen to what I have to say? He's going to sit with his back. Then again, I'm surprised he did as I asked without complaint. She explained, Vinny may have mentioned this to you already, but I'd like your permission to learn horseback riding. My family, the Blancheforts, are a household of knights, and you're a knight too. I heard noble ladies sometimes learn to ride as a way to cultivate refinement. Don't you think a warrior's wife should definitely know how to ride a horse? Lord say. Horseback riding is an arduous exercise that requires strength. It would be difficult for you, she say. This man, he's treating me like a child again. You told me to let Vinny know if I wanted anything, didn't you? Well, what I want right now is to learn horseback riding. And you say it would be difficult for me, but that doesn't mean it's impossible, he replied. I suppose you're right. However, it would be better to learn how to ride in early spring rather than during the winter, and ponies are rarely available in the market in the winter time. Would you be willing to wait until I procure a pony for you? She say. Of course, Lord added. Then I shall inform Vincent so that you can start learning to ride starting in early spring. I successfully convinced the Count. I'm so excited, I didn't even realize what I was doing. I outwardly expressed my joy at my first win. He'll probably think I'm acting like a child again. Count, does he hate seeing me smile that much? Then again, that sounds about right when I think about it. He was never interested in me. I'm an object of business he acquired at a high price, but I'm still just a child who is failing at my duty. So of course, he doesn't care what I do, Lord Zachary added. The first prince's son, Prince Albert, has an engagement ceremony coming up, and I must go to Lajas in late spring. She explained. I see, that's right, the same thing happened in my previous life. In the spring of my 20th year, the Count was absent from the castle for quite some time. Lord replied there will also be frequent events in the coming summer to celebrate the 50th anniversary of His Majesty's accession. It's a long journey to Lajas, so I will be staying there for an extended period of time. I believe I'll be returning to Arno in the fall or early winter, Bianca told him. I see. Then, I'll be living the same life again. The Count will die on the battlefield before I'm able to give birth to his heir. I'll be cast out from the countship without my dowry. My life will be filled with regret until the very end, and I'll be coughing up blood as I meet my demise. I'll forever be shunned as Bianca, the wicked wife of Arno. Why did I even come back here if I'm just going to repeat the same thing all over again? Lord said. Bianca, she replied. What is it? Lord told her. I was originally going to ask you right before I left, but I'm sure you have your own plans and thoughts on the matter, and I felt it wasn't right to make a decision for you without your input. I understand your days have been very busy for you in Arno lately, but would you like to accompany me to Lajas? If there is a shape to a person's heart, it probably starts out as a hunk of hard, colorless glass. But since that night, Madam and his lordship's heart slowly took on a warmer hue and began to transform into something much more pliable. Would you like to accompany me to Lajas? He asked. You want me to go with you? She responded, surprised. Lord added, the capital will be livelier than usual because of Prince Albert's engagement and the 50th anniversary of His Majesty's accession. He explained. You have a good eye for works of art and furniture. I think you would quite enjoy looking around Lajas, where they have a vast array of high-quality goods. Lajas, the capital of Sevran, was not just any place. It was the heart of the continent, where all industries converged. She felt an unusual excitement rise within her. She said, I'll go with you. I want to go. Very well, he said. I'll have them ready a set of travel gear for you too. Madame Bianca announced this morning that she'll be taking a break from household management lessons, said head butler Vincent. I organized an entire catalog of things she must learn in household management, and it's a shame she won't see it. You don't know what moderation is, one of the servants muttered, but it seemed that this decision was not just an arbitrary one. It was a moment of change for Bianca, who seemed to have made up her mind to pursue something more personal. Later, in quiet moments, Vincent considered the true meaning behind Bianca's actions. It wasn't about abandoning responsibilities. It was about finding herself in a different way. I'll continue managing the household, though it's clear Bianca has her own path ahead, one that may lead her to Lajas in the spring. Months passed, and spring quietly approached Arno. Madame Bianca's been quiet lately, one servant remarked. She was poking around the territory for a while, but not anymore. I heard she's taken ill. The rumors began to circulate. She said she was going to manage the household, but it's likely the cold weather and too much work for her. She probably found it a bother and is now feigning sickness in her room. But what truly caught the attention of the women in the household was a different project Bianca had undertaken with a group of women. It involved creating something with their hands, something seemingly simple, yet meaningful to her. One of the women working with Bianca spoke of how rewarding the work was, especially as Bianca generously rewarded those who excelled in their crafts. She added, That's true, she said. I didn't want to work with her at first because of all the awful rumors about her, but I could tell from looking at Yvonne that Madame takes good care of her people. As the conversation swirled, the quiet anticipation of Bianca's arrival from the capital hung in the air. Nicola was eager to show her latest creation to Madame. "It's beautiful!" someone exclaimed. "You really are skilled, Nicola." Before they could continue, a voice echoed from the doorway. "Bianca, Bianca, who's there?" came the call. "Is it Lord Fernand?" Bianca's voice quivered. "Yes, it's me," came the reply. "It's your beloved Fernand. Why are you crying, Jean? Are you sad that Bianca is getting married?" Jean replied. "I'm just so upset. You could have married into a ducal household, Lady Bianca, but I can't believe you're marrying a destitute baron who only just acquired a title. How awful of you, my lord. How could you settle precious Lady Bianca's marriage like this? Bianca, from this day forward, you're no longer a Blanchefort. You're now part of the Arno household. A lord's wife never leaves her territory. Instead, she protects her territory and draws her last breath on her territory. So remember this, no matter what happens, don't even think about returning to Blanchefort." Don't to Blanchefort? Lord Zachary Arno entered. "Now that you're part of the House of Arno, I shall take responsibility for you. I can't give you immediate wealth and honor like Count Blanchefort, but I will look after you to the best of my ability. Have you heard? They say his lordship has a mistress. And that's why he and Madame Bianca haven't produced an heir yet. There's a rumor that she's been rejecting him." "Do you think it's because of the mistress?" a voice raised. "Madame is immature because she got married at such a young age. She's so scrawny that she probably can't give birth to that many children. She spends his lordship's hard-earned money like water. So what makes her think she can reject his lordship like that?" Bianca think. "The count briefly spends a night with me the day before he departs for battle because it's his duty. He has someone else that he loves," Fernand added. "That's right, Bianca. He loves another woman, so there's no reason that you can't love another man. I will embrace all your loneliness. Just let your body succumb to this feeling. Love me, Bianca," she shouted. "Let go of me. You want me to love you? Embrace all my loneliness? Where were you when I was cast out of Arno? You asked me to give all of myself to you, and I let my body succumb to your love because you wanted me to. But when I lost everything, and when I needed you the most, you abandoned me," he say. "Goodness, Bianca. I thought you had found solace in me." "Yes, I did find quite a bit of solace in you. I made the mistake of thinking that someone loved me and that I loved him as well. When I think back on it now, I realize I should have done my duty, even if the Count loved someone else. If I'd known I'd lose everything, because of something as silly as love or consolation, I never would have fallen in love in the first place." Lord Zachary asked. "Bianca, are you unwell?" She think. "It's the Count. How long has he been here? Always appears when I'm having the toughest time. But he never gives me the one thing I want the most." "It's nothing. I'm fine." "What brings you here, my lord?" Lord said. "Would you like to take a stroll with me?" She think. "Good grief, that man! Is he boasting that he has long legs or what?" Madame Bianca and his lordship didn't know each other very well because they had rarely ever spent time with each other in the past. She'd always gazed at him from afar, and in her eyes he was just a big, scary, and reticent man. She hadn't had the opportunity to meet many people in her life, and he appeared to her as a difficult and unaccommodating fellow. "Are we here?" Lord reply. "We need to go a bit further," she think. "Then why'd you stop?" His strides have gotten shorter. Is he trying to match my pace? Could it be? He must have done so because he was out of breath, Lord Zachary replied. "We've arrived. Look over there," she shouted. "Is that?" he replied. "Yes. That's the horse I promised you last winter," Bianca think. "My goodness. I wonder if it's okay to pet her. She's such a docile creature that she stays put even when you don't tie her up. The feeling of receiving a living creature as a gift goes beyond my wildest imagination. I don't think I can express in words just how happy I am," he said. "I'm glad you like the horse," she surprised my lord. "Why are you suddenly so darn eager?" he say. "I'm going to hold you for a moment," she reply. "What? Not even my father bounced me in the air as a child, so why is my husband doing it?" Lord Zachary asked. "How is it? Is it too high? Does it scare you?" she added. "Huh! No, I'm not scared, Lord Say. That's good. I'll teach you how to ride a horse starting tomorrow, Bianca said. Thank you for the offer, but I don't want to take up your precious time, my lord. I did want to learn how to ride, but I can ask Vincent to get me a riding instructor, he added. You're not taking up my time. I'm teaching you because I want to. I feel like I've missed out on too much over the years, she said. Very well. So, my hands, when are you going to let them go? He explained. Well, now that you're on the horse, why don't you try holding the reins? After that, we can make a lap around the territory. Were you planning on going to where the seamstresses are gathered? Bianca replied. Yes, I was, Lord Zachary. Then we shall head there. Bianca think maybe I remember him as a big, scary man because I always had to look up to see his face. But when I see him from above, he looks gentler than I thought. Gentle? Yeah, right. What are you thinking, Bianca? Lord Zachary added. May I ask you a question? She replied. What is it? Lord asked. Why don't you call me what you called me that day? Bianca say. What do you mean? What did I call you, my lord? Lord Zachary added. So, this thing you're making with the seamstresses. I hear it's called lace. What is that? Bianca think. He knows more about my work than I expected. Then again, Vinny or Gaspard probably reported all my doings. It's an item crafted with cheap materials, but the resulting final product is beautiful and valuable. It will make its way beyond the continent and have a great impact on the whole world, Lord Zachary said. It will have a great impact? How are you so sure? She added. Oops, the Count doesn't know what will happen in the future. Oh, I don't know. Anyway, if it were to come true, wouldn't it help Arno a great deal? Are you concerned that my earnings will one day be as paltry as they were in the past? Do you have the same worry as your nursemaid Jean? I saw your stables filled with horses that each cost as much as a house, so I'm not worried about that, Bianca explained. It's just, if by any chance some misfortune were to befall the people around me, I need to have a great deal of my own power so that others cannot control me. The daughter of Count Blanchefort, Count Arno's wife, the mother of Count Arno's son. I want to be someone who can survive without having to rely on someone else's name. Just Bianca. I want to be strong as just Bianca, Lord Zachary replied. You need the strength that will allow you to be just you. That's an excellent mindset that befits a knight's wife, she said. You don't need to praise me like that. This is all because we don't have an heir. I still want to get pregnant as soon as possible. It's not exactly a time of peace with all these wars going on, but you don't care to see a successor. No wonder I feel the need to have my own power to protect myself, Lord Zachary said. If you get pregnant right now, you'll be remembered only as the mother of the next Count Arno rather than Bianca, the lace craftsman, Bianca told him. Isn't that how it's supposed to be? A noble wife is only looked after by her family of origin, her husband, or his heir. I can't help but be uneasy whenever my husband, who's supposed to take care of me, is in the front lines of a war, Lord Zachary added. I see. The present certainly isn't a good time, not for the young aristocratic lady who must have a baby despite the risk of death before and after childbirth, and not for the young knight who must step out into the battlefield where one cannot predict where the next blow will come from. Madame Bianca was suddenly reminded of a story she heard in the past. It was the story of the second son of Viscount Leagues, who ran from his household as if he'd been cast out from it. Even this extraordinary knight wasn't a perfect man since birth. He had no vassal to wield the sword for him. In fact, he himself had to protect his servant. He had to make his name from the ground up, and that was the name and tale of Zachary de Arno. Certainly wasn't a good time for the young knight or his young noble wife. Bianca think just like how I married into the house of Arno at a young age without knowing anything, the young count also must have jumped into the battlefield without much knowledge. My lord, by any chance, were you worrying about me all these years? A lady shouted. Oh my! Where'd you get that horse, madam? Hurry over, madam! Nicola has been impatiently waiting for you this whole time. Huh? My lord? Is that you, Lord Arno? I apologize for not greeting you. I thought you were a groom, Bianca think. Why did they have to come right now? Lord added, it looks like there are many people waiting for you. I shall take the horse to the stables. Oh, another thing. You'll make friends with the horse much faster if you give her a name. Come up with a name for her. That's your first homework for your writing lesson. This was her 20th spring. But Madame Bianca had a feeling that this spring would be different. In the capital of Sevran, Lahaz, she whispered to herself. My husband will be looking for me, Prince Jacob said. Didn't I tell you to forget about your husband when you're with me? She added. Wait. Jacob! Someone's here, Prince Jacob say. Wait, my lady, it's all right, he thought. She ran so fast. It looked like she wouldn't be able to play with her for too long. She was too much of a scaredy cat. So, did you find out anything regarding the matter I tasked you with? Man informed him. Yes, your highness, Prince Jacob. Zachary de Arno will be coming to Lahaz with his wife, Prince Jacob said. Oh ho, how interesting. The wife of the Count of Blood and Iron is coming to Lahaz? Something tells me this spring will be a little different. At the time, His Majesty had 3 children. He and the first queen consort had the first prince, Gaultier, and Princess Elidely. The second prince, born to the second queen consort, added to the royal lineage. Hereditary succession through the eldest son had long been Sevran's time-honored custom, and Prince Gaultier was widely regarded as the heir apparent to the throne. Your Highness, Prince Jacob. Count Gustave de Blanchefort greeted with a bow. It's been a while, Count Blanchefort, Jacob replied smoothly. He gestured to the young man at his side. This is my son, Joachim, I see, the Count acknowledged. Jacob's expression shifted into a smirk. I heard something very interesting recently, Count. They say Count Arno will be bringing his wife to the capital this year. His wife is your daughter, isn't she? The girl you married off to that old itinerant knight at the age of 11? The Count stiffened, his face betraying a mix of anger and discomfort. Jacob continued, his voice dripping with condescension. I remember my mother, a distant kin to the Countess of Blanchefort, was quite worried about the girl marrying some obscure baron of no consequence. Joachim shouted. Those are harsh words, Your Highness, the Count protested. My brother-in-law is. Count Blanchefort raised a hand to silence him. I understand why Her Majesty was concerned, but that obscure baron of no consequence is now one of the few legendary heroes on the continent. With him serving the kingdom, no country will be able to stand against Sevran, even after Prince Gaultier and his son become the rulers of this land. The Jacob's expression softened slightly, but he remained guarded. I see. I look forward to the day I meet this legendary hero in person. I'd love to see the Countess as well, if I get the chance. Later, the Count turned to Joachim, his frustration evident. Humiliating you by mentioning Bianca is an insult to our family, father, Joachim said, his voice rising. We may belong to different factions, but does he not remember how my brother-in-law risked his life to save Sevran every time Aragon invaded our country? The Count Blanchefort sighed heavily. Joachim, I want you to go home and send a message to Arno. Tell them that I want to be the first person to see Bianca when she reaches the capital. Joachim's eyes widened in disbelief. Truly, father? We'll finally get to see Bianca after 8 years. You even forbade me from sending her letters during this whole time. The Count Blanchefort nodded solemnly. She will be 20 this year and would be living the life of a full-fledged noblewoman. If she takes after her mother, she must have grown to be quite the lady. Madam! Are you all right, madam? No. My thighs and rear are so chafed. I'm in so much pain. Madam, lords say it was a good idea for you to take up horseback riding. As you progress, you'll gain strength and become healthier. Here, say goodbye to Isabel. It would be ideal if you could personally take her to the stables, but if you do, you'll probably end up lying sick in bed until the day we depart for Lahaz. She added, see you tomorrow, Isabel. I know I must have been heavy, so thank you for your hard work. My lord. Put me down. I know I'm not light. I want to walk on my own. Lord, reply, you're not heavy at all. How can you be when all you eat each morning is a handful of olives? She said, what? That's only because I don't have an appetite in the morning. Also, who told you about what I eat and how much I consume? He replied, you'll naturally begin eating more when you spend time outside. She insisted, please put me down. What will the servants think? You're near collapsing from the strain. It's better to carry you than let you walk. She explained, ugh, you're so stubborn. Lords say you do know you're as stubborn as I am, right? And that's how Madame Bianca and his lordship increased the amount of time they spent together until the day they departed for Lahaz. It wasn't enough to make up for the time they spent apart in the past, but it still gave the two ample time to realize that their frowns didn't necessarily indicate that they despised one another. He added, "You're doing very well. Pull the reins slightly toward the direction you wish to go." She say, "My lord, what's on your mind right now?" Lord reply, "I know I briefly asked about this before, but I was wondering why you weren't calling me dear. Think of it, dear. Dear. I did call the Count dear that day." "What the? You remembered that? Why are you asking me such a question with that nonchalant expression on your face?" "Well, it's dear like dear sir, as you would write at the start of a letter. It absolutely does not mean any other sense. Plus, I'm not sure if we can even really call each other by such terms of endearment to begin with. We may be married, but we haven't consummated our marriage yet," he said. "I see. I didn't mean to insist that you refer to me by a particular title," she added at the moment. "You're my writing instructor, and I'm your pupil. I'm sure we'll have an opportunity to straighten out our titles later. Your instructor, Isabel, and I will bring you and Noah down a peg or two." "Bring us down a peg or two," she think. When the Count smiles like this, he looks so youthful. "Lord, say I accept your challenge. I hope that day arrives soon. The horse will halt if you pull like that, so do be careful. I only did that because I was startled. You tapped my nose out of nowhere." There were still rumors of Madame Bianca making mysterious creations with the seamstresses and indulging in extravagance by using up expensive beeswax candles like there's no tomorrow. However, another rumor about the change in the dynamic between Madame and his lordship also spread at the same time, and a peculiar excitement began to circulate in Arno once more. At the very least, it was hoped that they would be able to see an heir from Madame Bianca in the future. It was also around then that his lordship received a letter from Blanchefort. Vincent explained. "The first time you received a letter from them was when you were discussing your potential marriage with Madame Bianca. If my memory is correct, this is the second time you've received a missive bearing the Blanchefort crest. Lord Zachary said he wants to meet Bianca as soon as we arrive at Lajas. Why now, after all those years? Whatever the case, I'll inform Bianca about this when the time is right. I want you to stay quiet on this matter," Vincent added. "I shall, my lord." But as always, unexpected problems arose from small misunderstandings. This incident occurred the day before the departure to Lajas. He shouted, "Madam, this isn't what you think." She became angry. "What do you mean by that? We must depart for Lajas tomorrow morning, so when were you going to speak to me about this?" "Vincent, dear Lord Arno, all of Lajas is buzzing with your upcoming trip to the capital. The excitement over the chance to greet the hero of Sevran is spreading like wildfire. I heard the countess will be accompanying you on your trip to the capital this time. I'd like to request to be the first person to see you and your wife upon your arrival in Lajas. Written for Gustave de Blanchefort by Joachim de Blanchefort." Lord, think, what an extremely business-like letter to request to see his daughter. I wonder if Bianca's brother has a similar temperament as Count Blanchefort. Count Blanchefort never even asked how Bianca was doing before. According to Vincent, Bianca never sent or received letters from Blanchefort. I'm sure she's wanted to see her family for the past 8 years. But is it really the right thing to have her meet them? Lord Zachary added, "I won't be able to see Bianca's braided hair in an updo because we put a pause on the writing lessons for the time being. But I think her long, unbound tresses suit her the best." It was the day before the departure to Lajas, and Arno Castle was bustling with final arrangements for the luggage to be taken on the trip. Madame Bianca had over 15 crates, and soon came the request to cut out a few. She replied, "I've already whittled it down a great deal, and that's the number I arrived at," Vincent informed her. "Even his lordship is only taking 8 chests," Madame shot back. "How is that possible?" And ordered his crates to be opened. Bianca say, "Hey Vinny, is this truly the entirety of his lordship's luggage?" "That's correct, but why do you ask?" Bianca said. "Be honest with me, Vinny. Is the Countship of Arno in dire financial straits?" Vinny replied. "Pardon? No, of course not." She added, "Yes, Arno is on the extremely wealthy side. We even have a stable full of war horses. But the embroidery on this shirt is so out of style, and he wore this vest when he was herding horses the other day. Even his furs are low quality." He shouted, "Madam, this isn't what you think. His lordship is a frugal man, And he enjoys wearing neat and trim, Bianca shouted. Ugh! I don't want to hear it. This isn't neat and trim. It's unbearably rustic. It's a good thing I asked about his lordship's luggage. If I hadn't asked, when were you going to speak to me about this, Vincent? When would I have heard about his lordship's clothes being such rags? Indeed, his lordship's clothes were certainly of high quality. But to Madame, who always kept up with the latest fashion, his clothes were literally unsatisfactory. What are all those trunks? They're not filled with rags too, are they? Yvonne said. Madam, those are your crates that head butler Vincent was hoping to reduce from your luggage, Bianca asked. Is that so? Then those boxes won't have any problems. Take everything out of those crates, Vinny, and open all of his lordship's chests. I shall pick out the clothes for him to take, she think. Yes, I believe this is for the best. Perhaps I can take this opportunity to give my husband's style a makeover from head to toe with all the latest pieces from the capital, he said. Pardon? Does that mean you'll be purchasing a whole new set of clothes for his lordship? He is the hero of Blood of Iron and the face of Sevran before he's my husband, but the clothes he owns right now make him look like a country bumpkin. Now that I think about it, I'm the one who must accompany a man who looks like a provincial farmer. I refuse to be mocked because of the rustic style sported by my husband. Yes, my lady, Lord Zachary noticed. Even the high and mighty Vincent gets whipped around by Bianca. I don't know what's going on out there, but I've never seen him at such a loss. Saliver mentioned before that he wanted to be on good terms with Bianca. What is he saying to her? Bianca say. You want me to give you his lordship's clothes? Saliver reply. Yes, madam. If you're planning on discarding them anyway, why not give them? Good fabric is usually recycled into other clothes anyway, she think. His lordship is quite large. Do you think these will fit you? He explained. Well, I'm bigger than our small friend Robert, and Gaspard is much bigger. I'd say I'm the one who's closest in size to his lordship, Bianca replied. Very well. You may take what you need. Thank you, my lady. I'll finish organizing the military camp cargo as fast as I can and come back for the clothes, Bianca think. I feel so exhausted every time I have a conversation with him. I'll rest for a bit and rearrange my luggage too. Not that there's anything else to take out. It's the Count. How long was he watching? Well, I've been seeing him almost daily, but seeing him like this is kinda pleasant too. What the? I thought our eyes. Was I mistaken? Lord, think that startled me. I didn't think our eyes would meet like that. Look at me, a full-grown man peeping at my wife. What if she's displeased that I was peeping at her? When Bianca and I first got married, I couldn't even get close to her because she would cry even when our eyes met. However, I had no idea how to deal with my young bride, and my aloofness likely played a role in keeping us apart as well. But she now meets my eyes of her own accord and even smiles at me from time to time. On one side, I have Gaspard accompanying her for her safety, and on the other, I have Saliver who approaches her openly. I began feeling strange when I thought about them or other unknown men hovering by her side, and these feelings arose in me after Bianca started smiling at me. This marriage ensured personal success and the safety of the kingdom, so I was willing to gladly put up with criticism thrown my way regarding my marriage of convenience with a young woman. That's why I was perfectly fine with a superficial relationship between us. I don't know when it began, but I started feeling uncomfortable about that perfunctory relationship. She added, by any chance, were you worrying about me all these years? Lord Zachary explained. I used to feel sorry for Bianca who had gotten caught up in the machinations of adults at a young age. But now, I just hope Bianca won't get hurt. That emotion is also accompanied by a treacherous gratitude for the various circumstances she got swept up in. Bianca think. The Count seems quite busy. I wanted to ask him if he truly didn't see me wave at him yesterday. Madame Bianca got into the carriage then, and wondered if she would ever get the chance to speak to his lordship during the long and boring trip she was about to embark on. Even in that moment, Madame Bianca had no idea that the wheel of fortune that was to turn her life upside down had begun its ponderous revolution. He added, "Let us depart, to Lajas." It was a few days after Madame Bianca and his lordship had departed for Lajas. The atmosphere around the estate seemed lighter. "Hello, everyone. Welcome, head butler Vincent," called one of the workers cheerfully. Here's the gold string and the flax thread you asked for last time. Vincent replied with a bright smile. Has something pleasant happened, sir? You look quite happy today, Vincent replied. Perhaps it's because the weather's warmed up, but I feel so alive, Vincent remarked with a little laugh. Well, thanks for all your hard work. As Vincent walked away, one of the seamstresses giggled. Warm weather, huh? Yeah, right. His mind is at ease because Madam, who spends money like water but never lets him complain, isn't around, another chimed in. Everyone in Arno knows that's why he's got that little bounce in his step, Lady added, but we all know he's quite fond of her, don't we? Yes, that's right. It's just that old Gramps over there is no match for her ladyship. Someone added teasingly. She used to never budge from her room, spending her days buying extravagant things, but now it's a distinct possibility that she may bear his lordship's heir. The first worker speculated. Another worker nodded thoughtfully. As for the lace, she must be pleased with our finished pieces, which is why she supplies us with higher quality threads. Madame Bianca had addressed them before departing. I shall take the lace you've made and show them off in Lajas when the time is right. An army of noblewomen and merchants will then rush to send messengers here to purchase our goods. Bianca said, until then, I want you to come up with better designs and products. I've told Vinny to supply you with everything you need, so you don't have to worry that you're inconveniencing him or anything. You all are no longer just seamstresses or manual laborers. Have pride in the fact that you're now master lace craftsmen of Arno. She turned to Nicola and added, Great church to thank the divine for sending such a rare artist to Arno. Nicola and the others later shared that they gained so much from Madame Bianca in that short time between winter and spring. Madame had recognized their talents and invested in them, and they prayed for her safe return. Lord Zachary say. The journey to Lajas, however, wasn't without challenges. A road had been swept away by a landslide, leaving only enough space for horses to pass. Yes, my lord, one of the attendants reported. The carriages will have to be moved by hand. How long will we be delayed if we make a detour? The count asked. The attendant explained. The party heading to the capital this time is quite large, so we've scheduled about 2 weeks for travel. Contrary to what I expected, her ladyship didn't find traveling in the carriage too difficult, so if we continue at this pace, I don't think we need to worry about a delay. However, we were supposed to stay the night in a village that lies beyond the unusable road. If we're to make a detour without going through that town, we'll have to camp out here for the night. The count nodded decisively. Moving the carriages by hand isn't very efficient. Let's make camp here tonight and take the detour tomorrow. As preparations for the camp began, Gaspard turned to help Yvonne down from the carriage. It's all right. Take my hand, he said, holding it out. No, I'm fine, Yvonne protested, avoiding his assistance. Take my hand, Gaspard insisted, his tone firmer this time. Yvonne hesitated but still tried to decline. It's okay. I can get down on my own. Take my hand, Gaspard repeated, exasperated. Madame Bianca's maid, Yvonne, watched the exchange with amusement. Yvonne, Bianca said, when a gentleman offers you his hand from now on, just grab it. Don't hesitate. Why do you say that, my lady? Yvonne asked, puzzled. Bianca replied with a knowing smile. It's their greatest honor to hold a lady's hand, he added. Goodness, it's no great honor to hold my hand. The hem of your cape is all crumpled, my lady, and it's got some dust on it too. Wasn't it difficult sitting in the carriage the whole time? There's a creek over there that flows into the Arno River. How would you like to enjoy a bit of fresh air over there? I'd be happy to take you. Bianca think he must be doing this because I gave him the count's clothes before we left. What a simple man. Just tell me where it is. I'll go with Gaspard, I said, but he insisted. Come on, don't be like that. Go with me. Gaspard has a poor sense of direction. Poor sense of direction? I thought. If you're gonna lie, at least make it believable, Saliveller. Robert replied, his lordship is looking for you, my lady. In the meantime, they were herding all the horses over there while someone shouted, Hey, you! Don't untie the donkeys just yet. She think it was so chaotic. I thought we were going to leave after a short break. Wasn't the journey tiring, my lady? He asked. Did you get motion sickness from being inside the clattering carriage all day long? We still have a long way to go, so you needn't grin and bear it if you find the ride too onerous. I couldn't help but wonder if he was worrying about me or mocking me. Bianca think. Is he nagging at me in a roundabout way like Vinny? It sounded like he was saying, don't overexert yourself like that. What are you going to do if you collapse? Bianca say. This is the source of the Arno River. The stream that flows in front of Arno Castle begins here. Lord added it takes 2 days to get here on the fastest horse at a gallop. But that flower will reach the castle in half a day. So this is the place Sir Salaveller wanted to show me. It's beautiful. I never would have gotten to see it if I'd stayed at the castle. You must have gotten pretty close to Salaveller, she think. Close isn't quite the right word. It's just that he wants to repay me for a favor. So, don't be jealous. I won't. So, are you jealous, my lord? By then, holding hands wasn't a particularly special act for Madame Bianca and his lordship. They weren't holding hands to uphold a knight's honor or for the sake of a noblewoman's dignity. Rather, it was that their hearts had grown a bit closer. That is why the burden on his lordship's heart grew heavier. It had taken so long to close the distance between him and his wife, and he was worried that the words he was about to say would push them apart again. Bianca asked, "What's on your mind?" "I have 2 things to tell you." "2 things?" he added. "So, well, were you and your brother on good terms when you were in Blanchefort?" she say. "With Joachim?" "Yes. I suppose we were on relatively good terms. My mother passed away after giving birth to me, so he was the only sibling I had. Joachim smiled often and was always kind to me. He did have a bit of a cunning side to him, for a child. I think he takes after my father in that respect. Then again, it's precisely because he's like father that he never wrote me a letter for over 9 years. She added, "I don't recall everything from the past because it happened when I was so young. But here's one thing I remember for sure. Joachim usually yielded to my wishes for pretty much everything, except for this one thing, chocolate cake. It's not like an entree in a meal that you can eat as much as you want. Being a child, I wanted my piece and his portion for myself. However, he did give me his piece of cake once. I remember stuffing it in my mouth in a hurry because I was scared he might snatch it back. And the reason that memory is so clear in my mind is because that was the day I was told of my marriage to the Count. I had no idea what marriage was, so I quietly sat there and listened to my father. If I'd known what would happen to me in the future, I would have thrown a tantrum and refused to get married. However, I didn't know anything, so I took the Count's hand and came to Arno, and it never even crossed my mind to return to Blanchefort." Lord Zachary. "Bianca? Are you all right?" she added. "I guess I was tired. It's because I suddenly took a walk after sitting in the carriage all day." That was a lie. "I thought about the events that will occur in the future, and I felt sickened. The Count will die, and so will Prince Galadier. My father, a loyal vassal of Prince Galadier, marches to the front line of battle in his master's and son-in-law's stead upon Aragon's invasion. Joachim also goes along to support father in battle, and that's how the House of Blanchefort meets its end. The future in which everyone disappears and leaves me behind is hurtling toward me, and I'm so repulsed by that sensation that I'm finding it hard to breathe." Lord Zachary replied, "To tell you the truth, I received a letter from Blanchefort. Your father asked to see you. If by any chance you don't want to see him, I will turn him down." Bianca think. I knew it. The Count was worried about me. How could I not know how kind he was in my previous life? "Thank you," Yvonne shouted. "I heard we'll be camping out here tonight. Sir Gaspard said he'll bring hides we can use as blankets soon." "I'm so sorry. I burst in here way too thoughtlessly, didn't I?" she replied. "No, it's fine. Whatever you were thinking, it didn't happen, Yvonne. What's this about camping here? Was that the other thing you were going to tell me about?" Lord added. "I'm sorry. I didn't want to make you sleep in the carriage, but it can't be helped. You can get angry at me if you'd like," she said. "Why should I get angry? I sleep even when the carriage is moving, so sleeping in here when it's stationary isn't a problem." "Where will you sleep, my lord?" "Will you be sleeping with me in the carriage?" Lord explained. If I were to sleep in here, with you, what would the others think?" she shouted. "Ugh, why are you blushing? There's nothing wrong with a married couple sleeping together in a carriage. How can I let my husband sleep on the cold, hard ground? How strange would that be? And I never said it should be just the 2 of us in here. The carriage is big enough that Yvonne and Gaspard can spend the night in here too, Yvonne replied. That's even weirder, madam. Lord added, I'll be sleeping outside with the others. She say don't worry about me. You sleep in here with Yvonne. The rest of their conversation was about Bianca's relation with her family, but they could hardly remember what they were supposed to talk about because their minds were in such disarray. After that day, Madame Bianca and his lordship never had the opportunity during their journey to pick up where they left off in their conversation. On the 10th day of their departure from the countship, the retinue from Arno arrived 4 days earlier than scheduled, in Lajos. Sevran's capital, Lajos, was a powerful city that managed to hold out for nearly 100 years despite frequent attempts at conquest by Aragon and Castilla. An embroidered emblem of a red rose with golden thorns arrayed like the rays of the sun shone brilliantly in the light. This crest, the symbol of the House of Sevran, was prominently displayed on a banner atop the steeple of a massive white castle that resembled a mountain. Lord added, "Open the citadel gates!" called Count Zachary de Arno, lord of his countship. Standing before the fortress with a summons from His Majesty the King, he carried the black wolf crest of the House of Arno. The sight of the flag caused a stir. It's the flag of the House of Arno! It's Count Zachary de Arno! The people cheered fervently, hailing him as the hero Zachary de Arno, and the Count of Blood and Iron. Known for his relentless defense against Aragon's invasions, Zachary was met with overwhelming appreciation from the public. To reach the main castle where His Majesty resided, one had to pass through 3 massive gateways. The citadel looked like an enormous mountain from the outside, and even after entering Lajos, visitors had to climb extensively to reach their destination. The climb seemed endless, and just as though one might touch the sun, the journey would end at the lily-white edifice of Castle Lajos. Zachary was informed that His Majesty was in Princess Audely's garden. It'll be a comfortable atmosphere, nothing like a formal audience, his escort assured him. You needn't be so nervous. Bianca, Zachary's wife, tried to appear calm but confessed. Bianca replied, I'm trying not to be, but I'm finding that difficult. Despite her concerns, they proceeded together. The gardens of Castle Lajos were renowned collections of plants from across the continent. At the time, Princess Audely and the first queen consort each managed their own gardens, and King Victor de Sevran had a particular fondness for Audely's. Meeting in the princess's garden was a sign of the king's deep trust in Count Arno. As Zachary and Bianca approached, they were greeted warmly. Ah, there you are, Count Arno. We've been waiting for you. King Victor appeared relieved to see Zachary looking healthier than during their last meeting in the fall. Bianca said, I'm Zachary's wife, Bianca de Arno, Your Majesty. The king smiled, commenting, So that's who you are. It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance, Countess. I've been wanting to meet you for so long. The Count had refused to bring you to Lajos all these years, citing your weak health. Is he allowing me to meet you at last now that I'm near death? You take after the late Countess Blanchefort very much. I am the first Prince, Zachary de Sevran. Your husband and I are close friends, but it seems this is the first time we've met. I begged delightedly for these roses from my wife. I would have presented them to you, Countess. However, Count Arno will soon be gifting you with a different rose. A rose that never withers. Bianca think. A rose that never withers? The North Tower, the place where you two will be staying, has the best views in all of Lajos Castle. It must have been a long journey, so I wish you a restful stay. Thank you, Your Majesty, Bianca replied. Lord Zachary said. Let us go, Bianca, she replied. Yes, my lord, the first Prince Zachary. In the future I experienced, he dies before becoming the ruler of Sevran. The person who inherits the throne isn't his son, Prince Albert, but Galadier's younger brother, the second Prince Jacob. That's the Sevran history that I went through. Bianca think. My family, the Blancheforts, are on the first prince's side, but he won't become the king if everything continues as is. That means the future is already set, with these men holding the string to a kite that is ultimately doomed to plummet from the sky. She added, then wouldn't it be better for them to also take the second prince's side, but in a very minor way? I know he gets embroiled in a lot of scandals, but still, Prince Jacob asked. Are you all right, my lady? Bianca say. I'm fine. He explained apologies. I was in such a rush. Bianca added. No, it's all right. I wasn't paying attention to where I was going. She think he's too close, Prince Jacob asked. Beautiful lady, may I ask which nobleman's daughter you are? Bianca became confused. Pardon? No, I'm. Lord Zachary entered. Bianca, Bianca added. Oh, for heaven's sake! Bianca exclaimed. You walk too fast. What if I look away for a moment and lose my way in a castle I've never been in before? I'm sorry. I won't let you out of my sight now, Prince Jacob said. My goodness! So you're the Countess Arno? The entire citadel was making such a racket cheering for Count Arno, so I was about to go see him, Lord added. It appears my wife made a blunder, Your Highness, Prince Jacob. Bianca think. So this is the second prince, Prince Jacob. The man who will gain supremacy over Sevran and the continent. I'm Jacob de Sevran, Countess. I welcome you both to Lahas. Did you know that your mother is a distant niece of my mother's? I'm delighted that I'm related to you, lady, Prince Jacob added. I was aware that my mother was related to the House of Sevran, but the House of Blanchefort never boasted of their connection to the royals when informing their children of the fact, Bianca replied. I'm grateful for your kind interest, but I'm not particularly interested in the fact that I'm related to the royal family. I am no royal or anyone of consequence, Your Highness. Bianca, she added. Yes? Oops. I didn't like that he was being overly familiar with me, so I got angry and spoke harshly to a royal, Prince Jacob say. Alas, Countess, will you forgive me if I offended you somehow? This is our first encounter, but I crossed the line because I wished to befriend you, she explained. No. I'm the one who made a blunder. Prince Jacob say you seem to be a very frank individual, my lady. I hope you'll continue to speak to me with such candor in the future. If anything unpleasant occurs during your stay in Lahas, I hope you'll come see me, Bianca think. He stares at me with such a brazen gaze even though he knows I'm a married woman. How vile. Dear, I'm so tired. Let's go to our room, Lord Zachary added. Bianca, you can't suddenly act like that here. My apologies, Your Highness. My wife is exhausted from our journey here, so we shall take our leave now, Prince replied. Of course, Lord Zachary say. Thank you, Your Highness. Until next time. I see you don't mind calling me dear when it suits you, Shah say. Thank you for playing along. You've become more tactful, Lord Zachary replied. No matter what happens, I hope you'll never seek out Prince Jacob. I'm sure it's not going to happen, but he's the last person you should go to even if I'm not around, Bianca added. Don't worry. I'm Count Blanchefort's daughter and Count Arno's wife. I even got married so that I can support Prince Galadier. I even considered partially supporting Prince Jacob a few minutes ago, but I guess that's a no, he said. I say this out of caution. Prince Jacob is a crafty fellow. You don't know what he'll do next, so I don't want you to get close to him, she think. A crafty fellow. Indeed. That's a fitting term for Prince Jacob when I think about all the scandals that surrounded him. The most famous one of them all was the fact that he had been colluding with our enemy, Aragon, for around 20 years. Aragon's invasions were all orchestrated by Jacob the traitor, and the truth was only revealed after he had full control over the entirety of Sevran's power. When Jacob became the king of Sevran, he married a princess from Aragon to solidify the alliance between the two kingdoms. Then a certain incident took place soon after that. Have you heard about that woman? She committed adultery. She was unfaithful to him because of her husband's loneliness. She should have exercised chastity and taken stronger precautions to protect her body and heart when the man became busier with his work. Other lady reply, yes, of course. The only thing that awaits adulterers is divine punishment, Bianca think. I paid close attention to those words because it sounded like they were speaking them specifically for me to hear. I even remember how the hard crust of bread I ate that day felt like grains of sand in my mouth. That woman they were talking about was Jacob's wife, the princess from Aragon. Loneliness festered in the princess when Jacob began to ignore her, and she sought comfort in the arms of her guard, just like me, who sought love in Fernand. Aragon was caught in Jacob's snare when their princess's infidelity was revealed. They had no choice but to comply with Jacob's every demand and ultimately ended up ceding their kingdom to him. She added, Fernand. This is what he said when he left me. Let's call it quits here, Bianca. There's no need for me to be involved with you anymore, Bianca replied. No need? Yes, that's what he said. When my husband died, things began to proceed as though all the events were written in a script. Fernand left me, and Arno went to Viscount Hughes, the family Zachary was from. Bianca became worried. Did anyone speak ill of Fernand or the guard who had an affair with the princess? Nope. On the other hand, everyone knew me and the princess from Aragon. We had to put up with so many insults, Lord Zachary say. Bianca? She replied. I'm sorry. I just remembered something, he asked. What were you thinking so intently about? I called you several times, Bianca told him. Prince Jacob was wearing much fancier clothes than I expected, but you're bigger and more handsome than he is. It galls me to think that others may look down on you just because of the clothes you have on your back, Lord Zachary added. You mention my size at every opportunity, but this is the first time that you said I'm handsome, she replied. I suppose all those women you've been with before were either shy or couldn't see how good-looking you were, Lord Zachary shocked. You haven't brought that up in a while. Why in the world are you talking about these women that don't exist? She added. Don't worry, my lord. I'm not a little girl who doesn't understand her riding instructor's past, Lord Zachary say. Ha, really now? Wishing to forget their unpleasant meeting with Prince Jacob, Madame Bianca and his lordship calmed their minds by speaking of trivial matters. They didn't realize at the time that the ill-fated relationship between Prince Jacob and the House of Arno had already begun. Yvonne say, Welcome, my lord and lady, Bianca added. Goodness. Prince Galadier said this room has a wonderful view out the window, but he never told us how beautiful the room itself is. All the objects in here are of the highest quality, madam. I can tell that chest is definitely from Arno. This room almost didn't seem real, but that trunk snapped me right back to reality. Yvonne added. Madam, this is the bedroom for you and his lordship, Bianca say. Wait a minute. His lordship and I are staying in the same room? Yvonne reply. He didn't say otherwise, Bianca think. Well, it's true that he and I have gotten a bit closer as of late, but we're suddenly going to sleep together like this, Bianca think. Yes, I did forget about my goal for a while, but I have to hurry and consummate my marriage with the Count so that I can bear his heir as soon as possible. I did bear in mind that my first night with him might not be at Arno Castle, but who knew I'd suddenly share a room with him like this without warning? I can't help but feel nervous. The Count. It looks like he washed up. I've never seen him so glowy. He's gonna sit next to me right away? What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Shaw added. Then again, back in the carriage, there was something in the air between us, right? Here it comes. What should I do with my hands? Should I put them demurely on my lap? It's cold. His hand is freezing, Lord say. Bianca? Where are you? Oh, here you are. It's late spring, but they still have a canopy on the bed. Perhaps it's because the castle is built on higher terrain. It won't be cold at night, at least. Bianca? What's wrong? I knew it. You must be exhausted. You seem a little feverish, she said. It's because I was thinking naughty thoughts and screaming internally. Just leave me alone. Lord, do you prefer sleeping on the right or the left side of the bed? We have to decide which side to sleep on, that is, if we're sharing one bed, he added. Bianca, I believe I shall be sleeping on the bed in the next room, she say. You are right? Yeah, I thought so. Oh, silly me. My imagination was going a million miles an hour. Thinking about this and thinking about that, I must have overworked my brain. I'm exhausted. May I ask you to leave now? Lord Zachary replied. I notice you always settle in on the left side of the bed, which means I'll naturally be taking the right. That is, on the day that we do share one bed, she say. Really now? I'm not sure if you've become wittier or simply more cunning, he added. Not sure, but I think I am slowly changing in a good way. By the way, Bianca, we need to continue the conversation we didn't get to finish the other day, about the meeting with Count Blanchefort, your father. What would you like to do? She said. I collapsed from hyperventilating that day, so we never got to decide on a course of action, he explained. If you don't want to see him, I can meet Count Blanchefort by myself, Bianca said. The thing is, he and I will probably end up running into each other while we're in Lajas anyway, so I might as well just go see him. Let's meet him as soon as we can. I'll be fine, Bianca said. I wonder when I'll be seeing Father and Joachim. If we're seeing them anyway, I want his lordship to have a new set of clothes before the meeting. I need to prove to them that the present Arno is of greater renown than it was when I first got married. I'm sure my father and Joachim wouldn't judge his lordship by his appearance, but I still can't help but be uneasy. she added. I need to show them what a comfortable life I lead, and that I'm living on even better means than the large dowry they sent me with. I wonder who's the most famous tailor in Lhasa. My husband's clothes should only be made by the best tailor, Yvonne replied. Don't worry, madam. I'll go out early tomorrow morning and find the most famous tailor in Lhasa, Bianca said. I'll leave it to you then. Thanks, Yvonne. Madame Bianca was never the garrulous sort, but despite her exhaustion that day, she kept talking to me right up until the moment she went to bed. But her heart still remained that of a little girl's when she thought about her family in Blanchefort. Early next morning, Arno's dispatch rider went to the Blanchefort residence located in the center of Lhasa. He was there to deliver his lordship's letter. Joachim entered. Good morning, father! I heard from the head butler that we finally received a reply from Arno. Oh, I see. They arrived at Lhasa yesterday. That must be why their reply was so late. Gustav replied we would have received the letter already if they'd sent the messenger before they left Arno. But this is wonderful, father. We'll be able to see Bianca in 2 days. I beg your pardon, my lord and young master Joachim. Joachim asked. What is it, head butler? Butler. Well, you have a visitor in the sitting room, Gustav say. A visitor? At this early hour? Who's here? Butler reply. It's His Highness Prince Jacob. Please remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, as it really helps our channel grow. Thanks.